Welcome back to the SMITE Console Wars. My name's Hindu Man, and joining me on the desk is going to be Zeros. And how you looking? How you doing today? How you looking today, I was going to say? You look all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess, you know. For the most part. We're here for Hype Unit up against Rival. It's already been a crazy day, but first thing to mention real quick is there's a new Chak skin available. It is called the Radical Rex Chak. You can get it in-game now, in a chest, or direct purchase as well if you'd like to go that route. Make sure you get your hands on it before it disappears or isn't available anymore. I don't know when it's going away. They just told me to say that. But now it's to move on to Hype Unit up against Rival. Two teams we got to see earlier on today, both on Xbox. North America for Hype Unit, Rival from EU. Who's your favourites going into this?
It must be Hype, I think. I think they had an easier matchup, Hype, but still, when they were ahead, they closed the game real fast. When you saw Rival, both games kind of was struggling. They had really big leads, but they were kind of struggling with like closing the games out, so I would have to give it to Hype.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the bracket first of all to see how both these teams got here up to this stage. Now, this is the whole bracket, by the way, so you get to see who plays off in the SMITE Console Wars into the finals, and the winner and loser of these finals go on into the main placement bracket starting tomorrow. They'll have to face off either Out Cold or Hype from the SML. We could get a Hype versus Hype matchup, and that would be pretty hype.
Just a question here. Why does the loser get to play against NA? Does that mean that NA is worse than Europe?
You said that, not me. If I say that,
I asked. I didn't say it. I just asked.
Production said yes in my ear, just so you know. So maybe it's that.
Perfect.
I'm very scared of saying that stuff because everyone sees me as being biased then all the time. I'm kind of used to it at this point, but yep. EU is better than NA. It's just the way it is, I guess. Probably based off the last performances we saw at the mid-season Invitational. But here's a little look at the Rival guys getting themselves set up, because obviously they've just played a game, so they get an extra minute or two to relax, discuss their compositions and such while Hype Unit get themselves set up in their booth opposite. Their performances today, though, I mean, who's you looking as the standout player? You mentioned a little bit about DineOhSaw and the Horus caused a couple of problems.
Yeah, for sure. I think the mid laner played really well as well, especially his Vulcan game. He dished out a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Not as much as the Merlin, though, but still a lot of, like, obviously a clutch fire gun steal as well. So, but then again, I think this Horus was, like, what made them like super unpredictable when they were sieging, and I think they were struggling sieging, but whenever they were like initiated with the Horus altos, and not really initiating, but like going somewhere where the enemy team aren't, like they had success. So.
And with that, you can see, like, this is game one up against Big Money we just saw from Rival. They're up 12-2 at this point with about a 9,000 to 10,000 lead and just rolling around the map. Now, obviously, this was game one and ended up being relatively quick overall from Rival's point of view, but game two was a bit of a different story. Here's a little look back at what happened there.
Yeah, the thing is, I thought the second game was going to be even faster, because first game, they had 3-0 kills, but they were still like even in gold or even behind in gold. But then the second game, when they were 2 kills up, they were like 2 or almost 3k ahead already. So okay, this is going to be a fast one. But that was not the case.
No, it wasn't at all. As you can see, 50 minutes on the clock, and Rival was really struggling to try and close out Big Money here. Big Money battled back, managed to get the Fire Giant of their own at one point in time. But before it was too long, Rival did manage to find a good victory by taking down the Titan with a cheeky backdoor. It wasn't really a backdoor as such, because the Phoenix was at least down. You can't kill the Titan without at least a Phoenix being down, and they recognized they could jump in with that Horus ultimate. Now, Hype Unit, you're the one that believes they're the favourites here in this one. A lot of fans at home believe these are the #1 team to watch out for coming out of the console scene and into play tomorrow with the rest of the PC players. Where do you think they stand out here? Is it through Bobby? Is that what we're looking at?
I think the comps, they at least going from the first set today, I feel like the comps made more sense when it came to like pushing down objectives and objective damage and all that. And as I said earlier, like when they finally got a lead, they would like end the game pretty fast, you know, compared to what Rival did. So I feel like that's a big like showing that this is a good team.
Definitely. And we'll have to see how they perform in this one, because this is a battle of EU versus NA, as we said. Both of them on the same console as well, so there's no advantage, disadvantage there, maybe, if there even is one to begin with. And both these teams know each other relatively well, too. Hype Unit, as I said earlier, were the most recent world champions. At least Wolves, Layers, and Oboronic all got the last world championship title under their belt. And the Rival squad, minus Coast, who's now been replaced by Davey, which I've not really noticed Coast has been missing in this one, to be honest, with how Davey's performed in that first set. But 3 members are world champions here, where that Rival squad ended up losing in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, but I mean, world champions, they kind of look like world champions the last set. And I mean, you could kind of call this like the console world championship, right?
It is,
I feel like whoever wins here is like the best console team in the world. So If Hype wins this, could you call them the 2-time or?
Well, here's the thing, right? Because you just discussed it with me as well, of the fact that these two teams go onto the placement bracket tomorrow. Now, there is a chance that one of them runs the upper half of the bracket, of the placement bracket, because it's double elimination, and the one of them goes to losers and runs that bracket, and then they meet again
in the finals.
In the finals to go to Worlds, but that wouldn't even eliminate each other yet, which means that technically, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
They're both world champs at that time. Let's get to picks and bans. This is a best of 3 between these two teams. Winner goes on, loser goes on, but this is for a lot of power at knowing who the best team on console is right now. Picks and bans should be standing by, and it'll be Rival with the first pick.
Would assume Hype to ban Horus here. Rival might look to take away the Set and the Jormungandr, which they played both games with great success last game, so... but we'll see. I'm not too familiar with like the Xbox Live, because I feel like the bans in Xbox or console could be like a bit different from PC as well. So
sure, and so far with the bans, we can see Rival take away Circuit from Inbowned, which we saw him play earlier on. Also going to shut down the option of having that Olorun for Hype as well. We saw that earlier on today when Oboronic had a pretty good game, and it sort of Crimson.
A really good game,
yeah. It caused a lot of problems for the composition of Aerial Arise. King Arthur taken away by Hype, recognizing Predators could really bring that one into play again. We saw quite a few triple kills and above from him this year on that King Arthur.
Yeah, I feel like whoever plays King Arthur, if it's an SBL or SCL or whatever, there's always going to be triple kills and there's going to be 1v5s.
I mean, you just roll your face on the keyboard or across the controller, right? It doesn't really matter. He still does damage. And the Jormungandr now taken out by Rival. So you expected the Jorm might be looked at, but not necessarily by Rival themselves. I thought they might be the other way. Hype unit going to ban the Ratatoska from going towards Rapio.
Yeah. I feel like surely Rival will look for an ISIS here, right? As we've talked about so much. They did struggle with objectives, right? ISIS is perfect for them, so yeah, there we go.
Yeah, really strong, not just in that, but her wave clear is pretty potent in the early game too. Wing Gust, fantastic for preventing knockups, and then you've still got the Silence and, of course, the Spirit Ball for damage and more CC control in these team fights. Hype unit, though, going to get Amaterasu for themselves. Is this potentially a support armor, or would you like to see it solo more?
We don't know, because they took away what Inbound played both games and what Wolves played both games. So
my power is unbounded.
It's very hard to tell. But I would maybe like Jorm is kind of late game, and that was what Wolves played last game. So maybe he sticks with that and goes for the Amy solo. But I don't know. It could go anywhere.
Well, you see the set picks up by Hype unit there, more than likely to give it over to Layers again. He played it earlier today. Did get 5 kills in a row. Wouldn't class it as an official pentakill by any stretch, but it was a triple followed by a delayed quadra followed by a delayed penta.
I thought it was almost more impressive than a normal penta, because he literally killed everyone alone without any help from his team pretty much, and one of those fights were 1v3.
Yes,
so.
it was, and that's just the lifesteal and strongness of the Kingslayer on set and that ultimate. Thor, though, for Rapio, no real surprises there, and no real surprise once again to see this Horus game picked up for DineOhSaw here. Hype unit clearly not worried about it though by leaving it available.
Yeah, for sure. Super strong 3-on-3 from Rival though. Horus 4 ISIS, that's a lot of controls.
Really
you can get CC'd. If you get hit by 1 CC and you don't have beads up, you might not get out of that CC chain before you're dead.
That's a good point. Even if you do beads, if you're already in the air because Horus hit you, your beads won't really help you. Merlin drafted for Hype unit though, nice and consistent. Only problem is it going to be in the dual lane? That's where you normally see Merlins these days. Can still mid, of course.
Yeah, I feel like he used for a long period of time. It was like Merlin dual lane was like where you would put him, right? But as of late, mages kind of come back to mid a bit more, and I think Merlin's a really good mage. He's so safe, you know, with his insta dash. He can get through the 4 wall as well. You even have time to react with your flickering. On say Horus looking to blink knock you up or blink stun you. You have time to blink away from it before he can even do that. So.
Well, at the moment the time is for the counter bans, and Hype unit going to take away Tyr and Achilles from Rival. Rival, meanwhile, believe that Inbound might have looked towards that Capri, so they're going to take that one away as well. Wonder if they're going to go for another defensive support. A Geb's pretty good against the likes of an Isis and a Thor for just cleansing some of that CC. But Rival worried about Inbound maybe going for that Hercules strat. We've seen so many of the support players as of late with those early invades of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense taking that away. Like, I feel like Hercules and Surcat support kind of similar, right? They do kind of the same thing in the early game. They use so much damage. They can kind of one-on-one your jungler level 1. Hard to deal with. So, like, it's a good ban, I think.
Hype unit then back to them for their next pick here. Still potentially need a jungler or another laner with that set flexible to either the duo lane here or the jungle, as well as maybe a support or a solo laner. Because both solo lanes technically not really locked in from either side yet. Maybe both trying to play that dance here. Terra being hovered over.
Interesting. That's kind of very different from what he played, like his playstyle he had the first set, right? Because we talked about the cat level 1, super strong. Yeah, Terra is kind of the opposite of that, but a lot of late game, like Amaterasu, Terra, Merlin, all those 3 gods late game is enough to have a strong enough late game for our team comp, because like they can kind of pick whatever now, something super strong early game maybe, and they will still have a good late game.
It's a good point. Well, with that late game from Hype Unit being looked at as a whole here, Rival got to go with the Jing way, which kind of answers back some of the late game that they may get to, because obviously Jing way with the crit potential from those explosive bolts, and relatively safe in the laning phase too. Rival will be looking for that Jing, I guess, to just hold the lane and farm up to late game.
Yeah, I mean, a solid draw from Rival all around. Like, good early game, good late game, good mid game, a lot of setup, a lot of CC. You can peel, you can initiate. Really solid drop by Rival overall.
But Agni being looked at again here by Hype Unit. Is that because it's good against Isis at all? Is that the reason? Or
he used to be. I guess he should be fine still. I mean, you can use you can use stun his. Okay, it's gonna be the Thoth.
Tell me about Thoth. You know Thoth. That's why I'm not even going to discuss it. You should tell me why Thoth is good here.
Why is he not good? Nah, it's just...
Here we go. He's the best gun in the game.
Nah, it's just so good. Kind of weird that we haven't seen it more than we have so far. Could also be... We don't know which one is going mid or dual lane here, but like Thoth mid against Isis. Isis outpushes Thoth a little bit early game, but as soon as Thoth gets like level 5, level 6, he beats Isis really hard.
It really feels like Hype Unit are going for a draft, though, that's all focused towards the later stages of this game. They all scale very, very well as the game goes on.
Yeah. There's a lot of magical damage though, and not a lot of physical damage. They will kind of have to rely on this set to do all the physical damage. So I will expect a lot of physical defense to get built on the Rival side.
It is interesting when you think about the fact that Hype Unit doesn't really have anyone to really clear those Phoenixes out. They're going to have to rely on the mages. Sure, Merlin and Thoth can do a little bit from range.
They can.
But it's not going to be the same as a Hunter.
Thing is, Thoth's portal though empowers your auto attacks, and it works on Phoenixes too, and you have 2 ranged carries. So I think their objective damage is good enough, for sure.
Well, you talk about objective damage. Bit of a battle here between, well, Isis and Thoth. Thoth with the nuke from range, potentially to come through and find a big kill. But Isis with the circle of protection can always secure and build up the charges of that. And then, of course, give your team a big heal. On paper, you've seen both teams play today. Zeros, you've seen the drafts. Who's winning game 1?
I honestly think I like Rival's draft more, but I still think Hype's gonna take it because they look like the better team, I think. But then again, I think they had an easier matchup in the first set, so it's hard to tell. But I do think I prefer Rival's draft.
Yeah, I will say Rival's draft on paper seems pretty potent. They've got the right pieces in the right places is what I'm going to say about this. They've got pressure with the Osiris potentially in that solo lane against this Amaterasu. And Isis, Thor, Horus, you mentioned as a potential trio in mid, could really cause some problems for Hype Unit at the start.
Yeah, and also Hype, like, so heavy on medical damage, right? So, like, I think the tanks from Rival, whenever they start building medical defense, they're going to be so tanky against this Merlin and this Thoth.
Well, they will have to be a little bit careful, Hype Unit, of that Horus too. It's caused a couple of problems in the last set for big money to deal with, and we'll see if those dropships can really come into play once more. We don't see him as of late, but more and more on the rise has Horus been. It's 0-0. Rival versus Hype. EU versus NA. You think it's going to be Rival. I'm a little bit worried about where the lane matchups may go, but we'll find out as we get into game. John Finch and Anatoly are standing by.
We certainly are, Handyman. Thank you, and Zeros on the desk as we move into the Console Wars finals between Rival and Hype Unit. And let's be honest, this is the way we thought that this would end up, and this was the big match we were looking forward to between these two squads. Though I think Rival might have come in with a bit of a leg up here, Tolly. Their draft is nasty.
It really is. And when I look at Rival's draft, I look at it kind of like a very basic draft.
Sure.
That's cookie cutter. You know, their margin of error is not that risky to the point where they have to bounce back. They have the potential to go in and still bounce themselves back off the corner. Whereas Hype Unit is not the road less traveled. It's a little bit more execution focused, but I think they have those tools necessary with the way they were able to dismantle Aerial Arise compared to how Rivals struggled against big money in game number 2.
It's just going to be so hard to beat this 3v3, I feel like, of Team Rival. This Isis, Thor, Horus combination in that early to mid game. They should be active. They have a ton of setup and control and damage to catch out just about anyone on Hype Unit, especially Inbound with no beads or anything like that. He's got this Blink relic, so it's not even a relic that can help him out a little bit. He could easily become a target on this Terra if he's not careful, as he does move to try and limit Rapio's ability to grab the speed. But Rapio gets it and even gives him some damage for the trouble.
I love how Rapio backpedaled away from the Terra stun to make sure that his Berserker Barrage would not have gotten canceled there. So good secure out of him. Rapio with always good mechanics, understands the finer things in that 1v1 matchup, even against a level 1 support. But that time, Inbound getting the better end of it.
Not so bad from Inbound after all, able to find at least something for all this aggression in the early game. And to be honest, you don't necessarily have to get an invade successfully to make this worth it. You're trying to slow down Rapio's timing, you know, burn any health or sustain he has. So if you can get beads or something like that, that's huge too. All you're really trying to do is just limit and mitigate, and Inbound's done it.
Like a 1-second stun in general. You stun the Thor twice between the speed buff and the red buff. Now that's 2 seconds off of his normal timing that he might be expecting to go for mid camps, where your team has already completed the mid camps, or use those extra 2 seconds to potentially set up a trap. So Rapio not getting the red buff now, and allows Inbound this more pressure, this more extra 1 second CC delay tactic. And now without this red buff, we're not seeing that much damage out of Fly specifically. And it's important to see how Inbound is still doing this despite not playing an assassin. He's still sticking to the Guardian, which just goes to show that he's an aggressive player by nature, not dictated based off of the god that he's playing.
And it's interesting, he had a lot of choices up when he picked this Terra. You and I were talking about it here in the caster booth as we were watching. I mean, Geb has clearly fallen out of favor some in that same slot. I mean, even more aggressive picks, but he went with this Terra.
Instead of the Ganesh even as well, that I thought would have been a good way to disrupt between the Isis and the Thor. But for Terra, I thought that maybe it was about team fighting potential. It might be a way to gas up the set for Layers a little bit with that Earth and Fury to boost the damage numbers.
Oh, Davey, he's in some trouble here on the left-hand side. Layers with a well-timed gank, 2.5 minutes in, and Davey caught unawares. First blood for Hype Unit in the console wars finals. They're on the board first.
A very important first blood going to Layers. The best position to get it on your set jungle, because now he has all the momentum he wants, and he's going to be rushing probably into the Transcendence, I would think. So that bounty is going to help him finish it faster, to finish the stacks even quicker.
And you heard Zeros bring it up as Wolves in trouble. Perfect wall from Rapio to isolate him, but Wolves is still alive even now, but low on mana. He's been knocked up. Rival answer right back as Predators gets one on Wolves in the solo lane. But you heard Zeros talk about it. Hype Unit are kind of magic skewed here, aren't they, with Oboronic and Crimson both on these mages. They really do need Layers to get off to a good start like he did with that first blood.
I definitely agree, but that means that there's going to be more magical protection from rivals, so that could allow Layers and even Wolves in general to thrive in that magical defense-heavy environment. Even Wolves on Amaterasu, whether or not he builds damage, has plenty of base damage on his abilities to take advantage of a heavy magic defense comp. And even if he doesn't do the damage that he needs, Wolves is providing a lot of mobility for his teammates. Layers is going to be the one that's required to finish off the low stragglers.
Rivals are the ones that have to make a difficult decision about how to respond to this draft from Hype Unit. So far, they've done well. Relatively even. Predators already level 5, as opposed to Wolves, who's still 4, so a small lead there. As Inbound saves the root here on DineOhSaw in the middle lane. No aggression. The Layers is rotating in.
Just waiting to see if anything's going to come off where he needs to clean up. As I said, normally should be trying to do. You don't want to be the one receiving the Isis silence, receiving the Isis Spirit Ball as a jungler. Allow your support to get it instead.
Wow, Layers takes the Ninja Tabai as well on this set. And this is something that we saw initially when he came out. Like, that set was this auto-focused gun. You want to get as many of them off as possible. But then there was the realization that his ability damage is really high. What do you think about this Ninja Tabai here?
I love it. I absolutely love it. The mana is good because it synergizes with Transcendence later on. The extra attack speed is going to help you proc your Kingslayer a little bit more. More damage from that 4th hit, more healing as well.
Well, the Layers in trouble now, had to use the beads early. Makes his way to the clone and is able to get out of there, but he ends up paying a hefty price just for some oracles that he was looking for. Without those beads, this set is so much more vulnerable, and it's harder for him to be aggressive too.
It definitely will be the case, and it's important to see how DineOhSaw made that play a possibility by wrapping around the left side mid camps instead of just going straight up the oracles. If he makes the brute force play, then obviously disengaging Layers without having to use the beads. But it's not only assassins that can flank from behind, it's also the supports. We saw how Inbound was able to do that against Aerial, making it difficult for Ollie to do anything on the Isis in game 1.
Predators looking to get aggressive. He's chunking Wolves right now in this 1v1, and that pushes him away. Inbound is trying to make his way over to try and grab them. But now that DineOhSaw's here, Order side has control of this Chaos blue buff. All Inbound can look for is the steal, but they move it outside of the walls, and they should be able to get this.
Really close to stealing away that blue buff. Will be secured. That hurts Wolves so badly, and it was Wolves that was getting the better end of Kana in their set against RvLRapio, playing Jormungandr both games. Rival saw that set and adapted by banning away the Jormungandr, not wanting to deal with that, and now having a very aggressive Osiris early game against the late game Amaterasu.
Rapio in trouble, makes it to the hammer, final judgment rips through, and that brings them both down low. I don't think Rapio can re-engage now, and that leaves DineOhSaw on an island. There's no water, no evac. Layers gets the kill credit, hyping it up 2-1. Catch him a little bit too greedy there in the jungle.
Little bit. I'm actually surprised that Rapio gets out by the skin of his teeth, but
barely.
only a level 6 or level 7 Thoth now without even Doom Orb completed. It's only going to get more dangerous from here on out, and a second kill for Layers is going to help him get closer to that Transcendence.
That's huge, man. Layers trying to get off to a good start on the set. But you brought up that solo lane matchup, and I hate to take Predators this far back, but I think it was the summer matchup of Season 5, man, where Wolves just got the better of them in a really significant way. And I know that Predators and Wolves, they've got a lot of history as two of the best solo laners on console just in general. Whenever these two line up across from each other, I mean, it feels like there's a little bit extra between the two of them. They both want to beat the other so bad.
I definitely agree with you. I remember a lot of Hercules in Season 5 for Predators days, as he would be able to invade out off of winning that laning matchup, making it difficult for your jungler to do anything, as Wolves can easily still do the same, but this is more of a team fight focus for Wolves.
And there's the big ultimate out from Inbound with the Terra's Blessing. Rapio gets popped. That's because there's 4 members of Hypebeat, and make it 5 as even Crimson's here too. Hard to win when they rotate in such big numbers.
Very similar to how Hype Unit was doing it against RvLRapio, these 4-player rotations, because Rival are starting to be the ones that are grouping up first, right? Like they're punishing Wolves between that early kill, which by the way was great mechanics displayed out of Rapio to find that kill onto Wolves earlier, which led to a blue buff invade later on, and now Hype Unit are realizing if that happens again and Wolves on the Amaterasu gets behind too early, too quickly, then what chances do we have in team fights without our Amaterasu?
Inbound finds a 2-man stun, but the team can't capitalize. Layers in the squad making their way left, and Davey low on mana has to get out of here. He does indeed disengage. They'll settle for 3-man splitting the mid Harpies. Thought Gold Fury might potentially be on the menu, because despite the fact that Hype Unit have gotten the better of these fights, they really haven't pulled away in terms of gold at all.
They definitely haven't, and it's hard for a Rival to try to take advantage if Hype Unit force any fights on the right side of the map either, because now Crimson can easily steal that with that Final Judgment ultimate. So I think give Hype Unit a little bit of time. They're still baking in the oven. Level 13, I think, is the magic number for Crimson to get, so he can have 3 points on his ultimate. His Doom Orb will be finished. He'll have more penetration, expecting him to maybe go for Divine Ruin, get some anti-healing available, unless that's where Oboronic is going to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the way that these mages are going to build together to try and synchronize is going to be worth watching. You know, you don't necessarily both need Magus if you're on the same target, so what build path they try and go will be very interesting. We'll keep our eye on it. Oboronic probably applies the Magus a little bit better.
I agree.
So maybe he's the one that'll end up picking it up.
I think Oboronic can easily go utility style, and not only Spirit Magus, but if he really wants to, even flex into Gem of Isolation, apply some slows to make it easier for Crimson to still go Glass Cannon and get a more accurate Final Judgment.
We'll see if that'll be the call. Meanwhile, Rival already stocking up on at least a little bit of anti-heal with Rapio picking up the Brawler's Beat Stick. And they're going to need more if they're going to get away from this Amaterasu sustain, the Sex sustain, then obviously the Terra for the whole team. There's actually a sneaky amount of healing there for Hype Unit, so I think Rapio, this is heads up.
Definitely, Brawler's Beat Stick already is a great pickup, like you mentioned. We might even need to see a Cursed Ankh later down the road. Even though Predators has Lord of the Afterlife with 100% anti-healing, it's not the most reliable because, generally speaking, it's hard to get multiple hits off with that
Gold
ability.
Fury o'clock, it would seem, as Hype Unit have already started to pull this objective, and I don't think Rival check their watches. That's going to be the Gold Fury taken by the Chaos team, and Rival not even home. But even still, it's only about 700 gold or so that puts them out in front. Rival are sticking right there with the defending champs.
I thought it was going to be level 13. Apparently, Hype Unit had other ambitions instead, kind of forcing it earlier on, recognizing that Rival were nowhere near position to contest that. And even if they were, Crimson having that secure damage that is just unmatched out of Rival, it would have had to have been a circle of protection fully charged to match the power out of Final Judgment.
Look relatively safe for Hype Unit to grab that. Rival responds by looking for the Pyromancer at half HP, and either Hype Unit don't realize or they just don't care. Rival strip away the objective, but now in comes the squad, and RvLFly, he drops immediately, so does DineOhSaw, starting to turn into a bit of a nightmare here for Team Rival. Rapio does find the lockdown with the wall, but Layers cannot be deterred. Blink in from Inbound, wall stun there, and they take 3.
This is Hype Unit at its finest. Final Judgment for Gold Fury, Circle Protection for the Pyromancer, the remaining 4 ultimates heavily favoring out Hype Unit. There's no healing, there's no damage mitigation from that Isis, making it so much easier now for Hype Unit to just clump up into that backline. Great dazzling offensive from Wolves on the flank. This is before that level 12 marker where Fly has access to the Aegis.
Well, this is Vengeant Predators though. He's coming back in and punishing low HP targets. DineOhSaw finds Layers, and then to keep up the aggression. Inbound won't be able to get out. No, he finds the dash before the knockup comes through, but the slow lands for Predators, and that should be all he wrote, but he actually misses one.
Oh, but he gets the Sickle Strike on the second attempt as well, despite missing the Spirit Flail. So at least getting something out of nothing there. Hype Unit a little bit too aggressive, trying to invade that blue buff, unfortunately. Gonna have to recognize that and slow it down a bit.
And they should be familiar with Predators, man. If anyone's gonna step on the gas after a play like that, after a loss, then it's gonna be him. He loves to be that person who goes a little bit too far forward to try and see what he can get away with. Had a feeling someone might be sticking around in the jungle, and that feeling paid off. They find 2 big kills to answer back.
But honestly, if I'm Hype Unit, I'm not super worried about giving up those 2 kills because we got the tier 1 solo lane tower. 500 gold now helps out Hype Unit get a little bit closer to the items that they want. Divine Ruin is the answer for Crimson. Spear of Magus is the penetration solution out of Oboronic to really go hand in hand with these backline mages.
I like it. I think this is the way that those pen items make the most sense here throughout the early game. Oboronic chilling on the Cursed Orb for now, doesn't have access to nearly as much farm as Crimson does in the long lane, as he's already finished up that Doom Orb. But even if some dedicated magical defense does start to come out, they shouldn't have too hard a time chewing through it. But Crimson, he knows that DineOhSaw's here, so he's okay.
Yeah, he'll be fine. About 900 gold now, 950 from Oboronic, so he's almost there to finishing off that Doom Orb. I'm expecting a little bit more pressure out of Hype Units surrounding themselves all the way on the left side. Davey has his relics, has his ultimate. I don't know if Jing is the primary target, though.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot just to force some of those on cooldown and probably not get the kill in the end anyway, so I agree with you there totally. Not a whole lot to be found from trying to take down this Jing. But now we are getting to the 13-minute mark, around when you thought Hype Unit were going to have that bit of a power play. And they certainly still can, though. Davey, level 15. I mean, maybe they should get over there and gank him. He is farming up.
They definitely is, but in mid lane, looking like a lot of pressure. DineOhSaw going to try to defend the tier 1 tower.
Spirit Ball doesn't find much. DineOhSaw is low. I believe Rapio took to the sky, and there he is, crashing onto Inbound. That forces out the ultimate from him. Probably not the one he would have wanted in that fight, but Hype Unit's still around this tower.
I'm expecting them to succeed now with all the healing. Inbound took a little bit of damage, sure, did use the ultimate, but has this monolith. Look at Wolves, though, in the back on Predators.
They want to try and lock Predators down, rotating in, and they get him. They use the final judgment from Crimson. I don't know if that was necessary, but a big evaded punish over the wall shuts down DineOhSaw.
Only took 2 hieroglyphic assaults to secure the kill after the fact with his 5-on-3 advantage. I don't see how this tier 1 mid tower stands for much longer.
I don't know either, man. And this is the thing about this new Hype Unit roster. They were obviously so scary with Griff, but this adds a new layer to them with Crimson. Both of them can play these mages, Crimson and Oboronic, at such a high level. You gotta worry about it from both sources.
And Rival, they saw the threats up against RvLRIs. They saw the Jormungandr. They really understood the Circuit out of Inbound, and they took those away. Even the Olorun out of Oboronic. But Hype Unit, with all their scrim practice, with all their preparation, they have more than just one little page in the book.
That's exactly right, and they'll turn to whichever chapter necessary to try and move on. Now remember, both of these teams have already made it into the rest of placement week at this point, so no one's going home or even dropping into the lower bracket as a result of this match. But you'll be the Console Wars champion if you win here, and Crimson, if he falls, could make things a little bit easier for Rival. Gets away from the Horus ultimate, but RvLRapio comes right to the back line.
Oh, the Aegis bought him a moment, but it just wasn't enough. And now Inbound in a little bit of trouble, trying to find shelter on this tier 1 tower.
Lord of the Afterlife lands. In comes the airstrike as well, and Predators makes it their second kill, but Layers suddenly comes in and finds one of his own, and you can tell he's hungry for more. Wolves continues to chase as well, but Rival stand tall and turn Hype Unit around.
3-on-4, Spirit Ball from a distance, a little bit off the mark. Predator, Spirit Flail, not enough damage. Both teams taking a bunch of health off of their marks. Oboronic is the healthiest one of the bunch alongside Fly, and
they're
looking
waiting
for him.
It's a trap they're trying to set for Oboronic, but they can't quite spring it. The CC wasn't there. He misses with his arcane damage. And so everyone makes it back out without any too much trouble. But that's another good fight for Rival, where they're able to find 2 critical picks.
And I thought for a moment Oboronic was going to continue to chase some of those kills to at least delay the back, knowing that this Oni Fury has just respawned, and with Hype Unit showing their heads around that mid corner, they actually saw a couple people back. And with that deep ward right outside the red buff of the dual lane, I'm actually surprised that they're even opting for the Pyromancer. I'm expecting them to not use any real ultimates here and save that for the Oni.
They've got the good information, as you said, that they can take this Pyromancer basically for free, grab it for the squad. They got to hurry over here, double time to the Oni Fury, because Davy's already swinging away. Predator's in position to start zoning, and Hype might not even make it. Inbound is in range, so is Wolves. Drops the ultimate. Now Wolves has jumped in as well. Circle of Protection confirms it for Rival, but the fight's starting to look all Hype Units.
Oh, Fly goes down like a fly. Davy now might be in a little bit of trouble. He doesn't have the airstrike to get away, and he's the target.
They got both carries. That's huge for Hype Unit. Yes, they gave up the Primal, but now they can go basically wherever they want to on the map with no damage to worry about. And it looks like the call is going to be this left side, tier 1.
It's going to be an easy one, even Finch. 5-on-3 for 20 seconds. No Fly, no Davy. The backline has been eliminated out of Rival. It's only Hype Units tanked to play defense. The tier 1 falls, tier 2 shortly to fall after.
And this is such a tough time for that exact spread to happen, because you're not going to be able to clear waves nearly as effectively or threaten damage either. So that means Hype Unit can be a bit degenerate, but in comes DineOhSaw, and he's bringing the whole squad with him, and Oboronic has been left in the middle of everything in a bit of no man's land scenario, but even still he bides some time. Rapio's only finds 1, but he chases the hammer and gets silenced.
And now he has no way out. The Beats buys him a moment as well, but Hype Unit not going to chase this any further. They respect the fact that Davy is respawned with the Jingwei passive, but keep in mind Layers was not present during that little siege attempt. If they had that set extra damage, that attempt out of DineOhSaw, RvLRapio, and Predators would not have been as fruitful.
Well, so far, Game 1's living up to it, isn't it? These two teams clearly an even match for one another here between Hype Unit and Rival, but Hype Unit are starting to pull away a bit. And I was saying it before that fight broke out, the winner of this one moves on to face Out Cold from the EU SML. The loser drops down to Hype Unit from the SML. So actually, Hype Unit console trying to avoid a sister matchup, I suppose, if they were to lose this match, and they would much prefer to win and go up to the top side of the bracket.
That would be an interesting matchup. A lot of pride to fight over for that one. I remember way back when Rival Xbox used to face off against Rival PC as script partners.
That's right, yeah.
Way back when. And I think that's the same case for these Hype Unit teams.
Yeah, I think they both won Springland, didn't they, as well, as Predators in a whole lot of trouble as way back in Season 5, but Predators has to keep on running.
No way.
Gets a great wall from Rapio, though, over the wall, and they're going to turn things around. Layers is already low. He does still have a clone from the teleport too, but it cost him the Aegis. Rapio can't find the dunk either, and he gives up the chase.
And now he has to go back into this team fight. The rest of Hype Unit is now regrouped. Look at Crimson on the left side. He's looking for a brute.
And he should be able to find one. Is looking over the wall, and that's plenty of damage from the Hieroglyphic Assault, but Wolves can't frontline. Predators in the squad cut him down. Crimson, though, not to be outdone, gets one of his own, and the rest of the squad going right to the back with DineOhSaw.
Oh, a nice double root and a stun onto DineOhSaw, but Davy is just doing too much DPS for Oboronic to handle. He got a little bit too rambunctious there, but it's a trade out.
Wow.
A 1 for 2, so Hype Unit can breathe a little easier knowing that there's no tier 2 tower to follow.
RvL, though, have been getting it done here again and again. And that wall from RvLPredators, I know he's down 3 levels and not quite having the same impact as Layers is, but this is what we mean when we say gods that can still impact even when they're behind, and that's what Thor allows you to do, especially in a capable player's hands like RvLPredators. He's been playing jungle forever and Thor forever. Of course he stays calm in those moments and makes a big play.
It's the synergy between the RvLRapio, Thor, and Fly's Isis. Just long-range poke and disengage. But they haven't been able to do that because it's been Hype Unit forcing a lot of these team fights all in their face. So there's a lot of adaptations that RvL are having to make in these team fights where RvLRapio has to get down and dirty on the Thor, which is something that a Thor can do, and it's definitely something that RvLRapio can do with all his competitive experience. But I think it's not really playing the way RvL's draft wants to play, with a lot of resets, with a lot of healing from DineOhSaw's Horus, with a lot of poke potential between the Thor and the Isis.
Taking a look at some of these builds here, Tully, as we've crossed the 20-minute threshold. Shaman's Ring for Crimson with an Obsidian Shard to follow up. This is a huge power spike for him. Toxic Blade for Wolves. He's doing this sort of pseudo attack speed build we see from Amaterasu with the Berserker Shield and Ninja Tabi. And then Oboronic is still waiting on a health item for him, where he's going to go in that 4th slot. A lot to keep your eyes on with Hype Unit's builds.
Yeah, expecting it to be E-Staff, but honestly, if it's Jungle Isolation too, I wouldn't be mad about it at the end of the day. It would have helped out Crimson to be a little bit more accurate on his abilities, and Crimson picking up that Shaman's Ring. Once it does get a little bit more damage, I think 800 more damage, and now his Hieroglyphic Assault is getting 10% damage amplification on the 2nd and 3rd shot.
RvL had full control, so they go right for Layers early on. Predators, though, continues going by himself, jumps in, so DineOhSaw's got to come follow up. Davey cuts down Layers with the Jingwei autos and now has to disengage with the airstrike. Wolves is right there waiting, so he turns on the jets, and they're starting to bring Wolves down low, but he makes his way back out with the dash. RvL get 1 for 0.
He should be able to sustain as long as he keeps switching the auras, so look at Wolves to regain his health and chase down, actually, some of the members from RvL with all that movement speed. DineOhSaw sitting at about 75% health, Davey at about 80%. Crimson still without his ultimate, and that's a big factor if Hype Unit want to take this fight.
Does have that Shaman's Ring fully evolved though now, so maybe they'll look for a play there. But DineOhSaw's initiations have just caused so many problems for Hype Unit. They have to find some kind of way to overcome it.
DineOhSaw is just not tanky at all compared to taking damage from Crimson. He took about 20% of his health from just a Hieroglyphic Assault. And this is the point where I think Hype Unit can continue to use this long-range artillery, and that's why they're going to force this issue with Wolves.
Wow, you're right. Even down a member, it's Hype Unit who are the ones aggressing now, but they might pay for it as RvL figure it out. They can't keep the CC chain going, and in comes Wolves to the back line for a 2-man stun, but he's been isolated. The fight now cut in half. They'll turn around for the collapse onto Predators. Frenzy popped as well, but this Osiris plenty tanky.
Layers going to slow him down now with a skewer, but a good stun from Fly at a distance going to save his solo laner's life.
But Layers goes right toward him. He goes right through the circle of protection. Crimson finds the first one. Layers gets the second. DineOhSaw isolated as well. Hype Unit turn the fight on its head, and suddenly at 3 for 0.
Hype Unit are bringing the hype with that easy 3 kills, transitioning all the way over to the Fire Giant side. I don't see a world where RvL can stop this one.
It's the inverse of last time. Right now, it's just these carries left with all the front line dead. Can Davey and RvLRapio make it in to try and contest as Fire Giant being burned too quickly? Wolves goes on zoning duty, but RvLRapio's going to take to the sky. Can't zone that.
Davey waiting for that patiently. He's going to have to agility away. Layer is going to avoid that Anvil of Dawn as he takes out the Jingwei.
That's a full deicide. Crimson comes through and takes down the 5th member, and at this point, Layers just does too much damage. 7-2 and 7, 3-1 and 12 from Oboronic on the Merlin, backing him up. That's FG for Hype Unit as they take the lead.
I like the play attempt at RvLRapio and Davey, but Hype Unit adapted so well to that. They even used the Earth and Fury to start the Fire Giant. They had Wolves be that scouting satellite to understand where Davey is, where RvLRapio is. A good reset, recognizing the Anvil of Dawn was coming around the corner, and then just jumping on the opportunity to get 2 easy picks.
And that mid-Harpy fight, or that whole left side fight that happens right before the FG, that's the most important fight of the game so far, man, because it really looked like RvL had found a great way to turn it around on the chase on the Predators. He finds a 2-man stun, but Layers goes right past.
It definitely does, because we're looking at Predators on the Osiris, and we recognize the strengths of it early game, but then we have to also evaluate the weaknesses of it late game. Despite Wolves struggling early game on the Amaterasu, it's a better late game teamfighting god because of its ability to disengage with the dash, with the mobility aura. The same thing that Wolves was doing in the backline against Rival is what Predators was doing, and he was succeeding early, but then that's when the weaknesses came up. As soon as he got constantly CC'd and he already used that Lord of the Afterlife, there was nothing left for him to do, unfortunately.
And we talk about it all the time, but how do those two front lines, however you establish them, end up shaking out in those 1v4s or the 2v4s or whatever, however the numbers line up? And that time, Wolves gave up on his front line, and they look for just the collapse on the Predators, and that's what kind of sets that whole fight up. There's so many different ways a fight can break down, and Hype Unit, rather, navigated perfectly.
And honestly, Dazzling Offensive is just a better ultimate. The Lord of the Afterlife. He forced out like the bees from Fly, the Aegis out of Rapio. It was so easy for him to do. Basically how the stars aligned for him. The way Rival disengaged was all in a clumped up unit, and Dazzling Offensive covers so much area.
Well, it was the utility from Oboronic after all. The Gem of Isolation was what he finished fourth item.
I love it.
And they're relying on Crimson to do this damage.
It's an item we don't really see much of. It's criminally underpurchased. It's not the most DPS, but if you're not the one doing damage, it doesn't matter.
Inbound blinks in first. He catches all the CC. Lord of the Afterlife goes to the backline, but Inbound's still alive, and Crimson flattens Davey way in the backline. Rapio can't stand tall either. Big Spirit Ball, but it doesn't save Predators. Crimson with another as he takes down DineOhSaw, and that should just be it. Fly can't survive either. Deicide, and I think that's 4 for Crimson. Hype Unit run over Rival.
What a clean Deicide on top of that bitch. No one dying out of Hype Unit. A big demonstration out of the North American Xbox team.
And we expected Hype Unit to come in as the stronger team, yes, but Rival really took them the distance here in this game. Hype Unit just kind of buckled down those last two engagements, the one around the mid-Harpy fight that we broke down, and then this clean siege from them, and Rival ended up buckling.
And in between those two fights was also how they secured the Fire Giant, because easily between a Thor ultimate and distraction upon landing and a Jingwei DPS that late game, that could have been either a steal or multiple Hype Unit deaths.
It easily could have been, but Hype Unit stayed focused, as you mentioned, and they played that so perfectly with Wolves on the zoning duty for them. And even though he didn't zone, he got the information right away that Rapio was in the sky, and they played around it.
Great adaptations for picks and bans. They swapped from an Assassin Circuit to the Guardian Terra for Inbound, Amaterasu for Wolves instead of the Jormungandr. Hype Unit looking very clean in this best of 3.
Yeah, you won't catch me questioning Bob if he keeps playing like that. Right now, Hype Unit are on top 1-0, but anything could change in this next game after the break.
Welcome back to the SMITE Console Wars Finals. The analyst desk is standing by. And we're in the finals at the moment where Hype Unit has claimed first blood over the Rival team. Zero's here to break it down with me. Zero's early game, Rival kind of toe-to-toe matched whatever we saw at Hype Unit. They kept themselves in it. A lot of pressure over in that solo lane helped them out, but as the game went on, where did it really fall apart?
Yeah, I don't know. I think this ISIS from Rival just didn't do enough. I think it was bottom of the player damage chart for pretty much the whole game. I think just the last Phoenix defense siege, he just surpassed his Horus support by like 1k damage. I think he had like 6k player damage in that game. Like, it's just not enough. While like Davey on this Jing Wei did so much work. I feel like he was what kept Rival in this team fight. He was doing so much damage in some of these fights. But then like they only had one carry because the ISIS was kind of invisible.
Yeah, was ISIS invisible because she got shut down at all, or was it just like not the windows were available for him? What was it? What was the reason, do you know?
Yeah, I mean, she died a few times early game. They would do like Pyro, for example. She uses her ultimate to secure that, and after that they get gone on, and obviously she can't do anything. The aim is just ulting her. She just get one shot. So I guess maybe that like. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, we see Predators here, though, for Rival. Like, they had some pretty decent plays in the early stages where they kept themselves in. You can see the goal difference there. It's relatively even between the two, less than 1,000 down when you're 6-3. But as it continued on, Hype Unit just kept finding more and more windows. And maybe what you're saying is right about the ISIS, you know? She was there for the control of the objectives, which worked out.
Yeah.
The fights afterwards, though, she couldn't really do much.
Yeah, like you look here, this Merlin and Thoth is doing so much damage in every fight. And like the Jing did a lot of damage too, but then you have the ISIS, which is just didn't bring that much to the table. So also one thing to mention is for Hype Unit, this set jungle that Layers been playing has been so good. He's played 3 games in a row now and been doing so much work every game. I think maybe that's something Rivals should look to ban out.
Completely agree, because I'm a little bit worried that they may have given up, like, that they can play set to that high level already when they could bring it out in the rest of the tournament going forward. But up against Rival, it's important to, you know, claim the title. And that was pretty much a one-shot maybe there from Crimson. And then the follow-up damage, I believe there was a quadra at the end of this. Just one by one by one, they all fell down for the Dia side, and that ended up winning them the game out. Hype Unit looked really good overall, though.
Yeah, that Thoth probably did more damage in that single fight than this ISIS did the whole game. So you just need stronger carries. Like, I don't know, maybe he's just not confident on the ISIS. We've seen ISIS twice today.
I was gonna say, like, ISIS, like, you'd say stronger carries, but it's ISIS. She's so strong.
We've seen her twice today, though, and had very little impact in both games she'd been played. So maybe the players that are playing her are just not confident on it, maybe. I don't know. Probably look to play something else.
It could be one of those situations, though, because a lot of gods do get banned for a while, and you don't get a chance to play with them because they're always banned. So you don't practice them, and then it comes to the tournament time, meta changes slightly, and everyone expects you to be able to pick it up and play it, but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, I mean, especially Isis, like, very unsafe god, right? She has kind of good self-build now with her ult and all that, but as I said, most time when she died, she already used her ultimate to secure an objective or something, so she's kind of no defense left after that.
Whereas what we saw from Hype Unit there, they really played through Layers' set quite a few times. A lot of heavy CC control to allow him to just chip away at the health bars. Into the picks and bans we go then. Hype Unit with the second pick. Rival chose first pick here. They're going to ban away the Circuit. Hype Unit respawn with Persephone. I wouldn't be surprised if Hype Unit leave this ISIS up again.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be worried about ISIS after that game, for sure. Thoth ban, I mean, the Thoth did a lot of work too, but I think the set has been such a strong pick for Hype so far this tournament, so I would prefer to see a set ban, I think.
That's a good point. Will we see the set ban from Rival here? They have the opportunity being first pick, because you don't have to leave everything open. Instead, they don't want to take ISIS for themselves. They didn't play it very well as you instructed, so ban it instead.
Yeah. Sure, I can see what they're doing, but this is also a really bad thing, because like now they have to waste a ban because they're not confident playing themselves, so now they can't target ban the enemy team. So this is always a bad thing to have as a team, right? Because like you want to be playing the ISIS, you don't want to be banning it away.
No, I agree. Do we see Rival maybe pick set then here? That also is a strip away at that point, but no. What were the Jormungandr early on?
Yeah, I mean, Wolves played it both games in the first set and did really well on it. He did really well on the Amaterasu as well. Wasn't that dominant in lane though, so maybe they're not that scared of the Amaterasu.
That's true. Amaterasu will be drafted. I wouldn't be surprised by Amaterasu and Set being picked up by Hype Unit here. They have the opportunity to go with that because it's only really Jormungandr that's been shown. But they do get the Olorun.
That's true.
So you've got to take Set now, right?
Yeah, I feel like if they give them Set as well, now that they had Olorun, which they also performed really well on, if they get Olorun and Set, it's going to be really scary for Rival.
Yeah, the Jing I was about to say, has been picked up quite a lot by Davey so far, so no surprise to see him go back to it. Had some good games so far on that Jing Wei, but it is up against an Olorun, which is a different beast in itself.
Yeah, that was the matchup he played last set as well when he played Olorun. He was up against Jing Wei, and he manhandled that Jing Wei.
That's what I'm worried about, yeah. And now the Kukulkan from Rival being picked up more than likely for 50-meter fly here. Played the ISIS game 1, didn't have the easiest of times, so going to go with the Kukulkan for some big AoE control. Hype Unit. It kind of deters a little bit of what Set could bring, I guess, with Kukulkan tornado damage, but Hype Unit is still undeterred with this. They're going to go back to it again, and no real surprises. If I'm Hype Unit, I'm very happy so far.
Very happy, I think. Like, me personally, I don't think Set jungle is like super amazing, but then again, it's from player to player, you know, like you can definitely tell the Layers really likes their pick and is performing on it as well, so. And then you have Olorun and Amaterasu for team fights. Pretty good. It's
kind of like Johnny from EU who always plays Ao Kwang, right? Even though we don't see Ao Kwang anymore, he'll always play it well. Layers might be falling into the same sort of thing here on this set. Naja and Thor taken out by Hype Unit, making sure Rapio's options are a little bit limited in the jungle this time round. I am looking at Rivals comp, those Zeros, and pressure's not something they really have at the start of this game.
Yeah. Kukulkan though, always in mid, really good wave clear, right? Big out, big.
It's not as much as people think though. Like that first
Kukulkan.
tornado, it takes a while. It takes like rank 3 before level 3 before you really start to clear the wave. With your
Yeah,
tornado.
but it's long range. You go up there, you drop it, and you can run back. Like
That's true. But it's such a tornado and then run away again.
and if you really need, just alt the creep wave if you really want to clear
You're not
fast.
level 5 yet. You can't do that.
True, I guess. Yeah.
It is a low cooldown. The hype unit going to go with the Agni. We've seen a little bit more out of Agni on the console side today. That's the pick I was wondering about. This Kumbhakarna being hovered over by Rival. It's really good at shutting down aggressive assassins. The likes of Set, who has no CC immunity,
True.
can cause a problem.
Yeah.
But they're not looking at it. They've changed their mind again here, looking at Susano instead.
Really like this from hype again. Like I feel like every time I see Olorun, I get so happy when I see match with a mid mage that does well with Spirit of Magus, right? You have the Spirit of Magus, demonic. I need to stop talking about this, but it's just so strong though. It's just so strong. There's just so much frontline damage.
Yeah, just set someone. There's the Kumbhakarna. Rival will go to it. And it does shut down a little bit of what Hype are going to do. Olorun can't really escape a Kumbhakarna for the most part. He's got no escapability, so to speak, other than a knockback, which Groggy Strike will ignore anyway. But Hype unit could be giving Inbound that gap, which isn't a terrible pick here at all. Make sure he can cleanse some of these CCs that his carries are going to get on them, or just give him the shield that's raw health, which a lot of people always forget about.
Yeah, problem here though for Rival, like a lot of the picks they have get. What do they do once they're in the Olorun ult? Like Susano, he has no CC immunity in his kit, neither does Kukulkan. Sure, Kumba can ult, but after that, he's not moving in there.
It's true.
Like Jorm is really good against it, but apart from Jorm, I don't know. I feel like this Olorun, he performs so good on Olorun as well. Definitely need to shut it down somehow.
Is that the plan then from Rival? Try and get towards this Olorun early and put it behind
probably,
before everything goes off? I mean, they scale pretty well, Rival, into the late game. The problem is I do think they're going to struggle a little bit in these early stages.
This is the old school weekend and MLC style combo, I think. Susano, Kukulkan. They will place the Kukulkan tornado and then Susano will pull people into it. I'm pretty sure they did it back on Allegiance or something many years ago.
Also, on top of that, Kumbhakarna, you uppercut them and just drop a tornado where they're going to land. It's guaranteed damage on
Or
landing.
you could ult as well.
Oh, yeah, you could. It's a bit tricky. We're discussing that off air. Do you think Rival have what it takes, though, with this composition they've got to try and answer back and make this a 1-1?
I feel like Hype's comp is slightly better, and I also feel like Hype is a lot better as a team right now, so I don't see Rival winning this, but like it would be fun to see a upset and see this going to best of 3, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, it's all about shutting down the Olorun in the early game, but then as the game goes on, I mean, Gold Fury secure, Fire Giant secure. I'm leaning a little bit Rival's way because of the Kukulkan, but then again, Agni Bombs can be underappreciated for how much they can bring.
Yeah, then like you pop a girdle on Hype, you have Amaterasu to increase the damage too, and then you have Olorun. Agni has a lot of objective damage too, like his dash, so much damage, and like as you said, you have Demonic and Spirit of Magus, which works on Fire Giants as well, so much objective damage.
Well, we'll see what happens at the beginning of the game, because I wonder if we'll see any early invades potentially from Rival here. They've got some pretty good gods for doing that. Kumbhakarna, one of the go-tos for trying to get aggressive in the early game. And Susano's clearing the jungle. It's pretty effective in the early stages. Probably a little bit more so than a Set, I'd say.
Yeah, sure. The problem with Kumbhakarna is though, if you want to invade with Kumba, he doesn't have good secure. Like, you have very limited chance of stealing. You can be really annoying and keep rooting the jungler and like slapping with the hammer or mace or whatever he's working with.
I think people underestimate how good that belly bump is from Kumbhakarna though, because if he does that on the creep, he will secure it a little bit easier. Nobody expects him to go for that either, so possibility there, I doubt it.
Yeah, but I think if you see the Kumba comes up and he doesn't use his 2, then you probably expect him to level you once. You probably make sure to kill the small creeps
but that's
before you
when
go for the big one.
take the 2, right, and then you delay on purpose, right? It's mind games. Mind games. Rather going to have to use a lot of mind games in this one. They've got to battle back. They're 1 game down. Hype unit just need 1 for the victory. Let's get over to the casters for game 2.
Just in case Zeros forgot what a prolonged conversation with Hindu Man's like, he just got refreshed. Thank you all on the desk as we move into game number 2, which could be the final game here in our Console Wars final, making Hype Unit the champs if they win it, but Rival would love to extend this set out a little further. Tolly, have they drafted the tools to do that?
I don't think so. Honestly, no. I don't think so. Hype Unit just too hot right now. This Xbox North America team up against the Xbox European team, you could tell that there's something different about them.
Yeah.
And whether it's preparation, whether it's composition, whether it's execution, there's something missing from RvL. Like historically, before Season 5, RvL have always looked great in their region, but haven't really performed on land. Season 5 comes around, RvL in spring wings it all alongside their PC counterpart, and then summer just falls short to Hype Unit at the time, actually, in the summer, and haven't really recovered since.
I mean, I know that they're missing their X Factor, which used to be Vapourish Coast, but I mean, Davies played really well for this team. I mean, in that last game, he had a great game on the Jingwei. He was bringing plenty of relevant damage, so it's not as if they're missing, you know, like a big like playmaker or anything here from the squad. I just think Hype Unit are on the warpath, man. They're playing so cleanly as a team together. Inbound maybe went a little bit into mode in game 1 back in their first set, but since then he's cleaned it up. He's played so well too. Hype Unit are looking tough to beat.
I just think that RvL are missing some either leadership or some key strategies to get the slight edge and carry that edge over, because the way they struggled against Big Money in game number 2 was a big determining factor to see how they can execute against some of the more prestigious teams, because if they're struggling versus Big Money, they're going to struggle against Hype.
Inbound in a lot of trouble. 4 members of Team RvL collapse to find first blood. They're not ready to relinquish control of that Console Wars champion just yet.
And this is RvL doing their homework. This is how they've kind of recognized some of the movement pathing tendencies out of Hype Unit. They saw Oboronic going to the purple buff earlier, so DineOhSaw waits around that corner. After securing the purple buff invade, everyone out of RvL transitioning to mid because they recognize the pathing that Inbound likes to take on the get.
And they punish him successfully, still level 1. So is DineOhSaw at this point with an assist to his name. They also have red buff control. You can see one on Rapio and Davy at this point. So RvL have not only gotten the first blood, but controlling the map right now as well. And I don't know that it would necessarily given them an early game advantage. Do I suppose Hype Unit don't exactly come flying out of the gates either? Both of these teams a little bit late game skewed.
They definitely are, but the way Fly is building has given him that edge. To finish off Shoes of Focus now, he has some team fighting potential already with an extra mana pool to work with a 10% CDR. There's a little bit of poke potential, harder to really go onto Fly now with all that extra mobility he has. So if you're Layers, that's probably a lower end of the totem pole of who you're going to prioritize.
Just saw a nice ward there on the left-hand side, revealed the approaching DineOhSaw, so Oboronic knew there was really no danger, that extra information. But RvL get Oracles. That neutral farm belongs to the Order side team as they're in position for another red invade, but so is Hype Unit. They're here to play defense this time, but Inbound already low, stuck inside the tornado, and it's a bad weather warning in effect. They find a second kill.
Yeah, no matter what, that Geb Shield not strong enough this early on to deal with Flies, tornadoes, with some of the changes as well. It applies faster, refreshes faster, so easier to confirm this kill. Second death now onto Inbound.
But there's the stun coming out from Crimson. The DineOhSaw's inside the passive. They find a kill. They have to stick around to get through that passive, and that's left Crimson here a little bit too long, juking around desperately, but gets caught inside the tornado, and Fly finds an answer.
I love how RvL play that, because they actually purposely baited out DineOhSaw, recognizing that Hype Unit were going to bite on the bait, and RvL trade out their support now, finding their third kill on a very important target, Crimson, who's not playing the Thoth that he carried with as it was banned away from RvL, but the Agni instead.
And both sets of beads are taken as well, Layers and Crimson, so not only did they end up trading 1-for-1 there, but they'll be more vulnerable the next time those fights come back around. RvL playing really well throughout these first few minutes here so far.
They definitely have been using Fly to its fullest potential here, sitting at 1-0 to a part of every single kill. Very important for your mid laner to get involved this early on, and almost for a split second I thought Crimson was about to be out with the way he was juking out for as long as he was, but once that tornado comes, there's only so much juking you can do in that small little corridor.
Not getting caught out for it. Nice fight from RvL, but they've got to keep it going. They were most competitive at the beginning of game number 1 as well, but the longer the game went on, the more it looked like they strained to keep making the right decisions up against this Hype Unit team. As long as Hype Unit's in striking distance, they're never really out of a game.
I agree with you, because Hype Unit, they secured the goal here at 10-minute mark in the previous game, despite having a real advantage when they didn't have the potential, I think, right? So with only level 10 on Crimson stuff.
Davey just dashed in aggressively. Still has the airstrike if he feels like he needs it, but so far he's not under enough pressure. Great recognition from him that he could play aggressive and still have an escape tool. And this is the comparison I was making earlier. It's obvious that when you don't have Costa on the team anymore, you're missing some of that star power. But I think Davey has shown up for this team time and time again. And is playing well for him.
I think it's more than just the star power or the individual talent out of their hunter. I think it's going to come down to these strategies. And so far, these strategies from game number 2 has been successful, but they need to find a way now to be the ones to secure the Gold Furies, to be the ones to push and pull Hype Unit at their own whim.
Another red buff invade appears to be in the cards. DineOhSaw steps forward first and has the blink. He wants to get aggressive. Red being pulled now by Hype Unit. Bombs for the zoning, bombs to confirm, and this time the red buff is defended. So Hype Unit finally get back on top of that timer.
Would have been risky, I think, for DineOhSaw to go in there knowing how his passive was already consumed from earlier of a scuffle, so he was going to be committed if he blinked in. And this early on to commit for a red buff at level 4, not super useful here. There's a lot of farm on the map because, like, look at the purple buffs coming up, speed buffs coming up as well. You got your blue and your back cam, so I think that that kind of an invade out of Rival was almost unwarranted. Whether or not they were going to commit, they probably should have gotten their own farm first.
Yeah, I agree. The chances of getting that red buff weren't particularly high. Another thing to note is I think that was the first post-level 5 red buff invade for Crimson, and Agni is one of those gods that changes a lot when his ultimate comes online. So that did make that much harder there for them, but they're still enjoying leads in every role except jungle, where Layers is a little bit ahead of Rocky.
Yeah, and Crimson getting more cooldown reduction with the Shoes of Focus, so seeing 3 of these so far completed. Wouldn't be surprised maybe to even see 4 if Dinosaur was to lock it in. Predators trying to make something happen onto Wolves with Rapio.
Knew that Rapio was nearby, so Wolves has to go into the dazzling offensive to get away. And really, Rapio, all he has to do there is kind of show some face and use the blink, and they force out the dazzling offensive. Plus, it costs Predators ultimate too.
So yeah, one big cooldown for 2 on the side of Rival, and allows Wolves to continue to farm. Now, transitioning away from the early game is important for Amaterasu, and without any deaths thus far, it's a big improvement, I'd say, for Wolves to keep holding his ground, having access to his blue buff so he can continue and sustain.
Well, it's like we saw last time, right? The Ama was more impactful than the Osiris. I do think Predators is going to be able to still be pretty impactful, especially against the Olorun, but this Amaterasu, when Will starts to rotate in, is going to be a huge factor.
And now Predators having the Warrior's Blessing fully evolved. Could be a little trouble as Rapio.
But this is mostly about creating a distraction in mid so they can get that red buff invade in the jungle. Oboronic had to defend it basically by himself and couldn't quite get the job done. So I know it looked like a lot used from Rival, but they were trying to lock down Hype in mid.
Really hard to lock down Rapio on the Susano, just too much mobility, but now in a little bit of trouble. We're seeing Oboronic left in no man's land.
But gets a nice Geb shield out from Inbound. Didn't realize that the chase was largely up, so had to use the Sanctified Field to get himself out. I don't hate that too much, but now it's a full re-engage as he doesn't have the ultimate available. Oboronic gets the knockback, but the Rock can't get out of there. Instead, he falls.
Rival doing such a great job now, collapsing together at the same time. Oboronic and Inbound need more than just those 2 if they're going to deal with 3 out of Rival, and this is going to come down to the warding situation. We're seeing how normally it's Hype Unit that has that advantage, but not this time.
Davey willing to die for this one. Oboronic only needs 1 more auto and he's dead, but he avoids it all. Davey very nearly falls, but wins the 1v1.
He had to use that ultimate to kill the archers, otherwise he was about to get traded out, but what a play out of Oboronic to be that confident to continue to fight. If Davey missed 1 more basic attack, that would have been clean for Oboronic.
That would have been. Davey had that one probably way closer than even he would have liked. But in the end, that's all part of the calculus that you actually can afford to take a tower shot or 2, to miss a few autos there going in that fight. He had such a health lead. So it all factored in, and that's why Davey makes that play.
I'm almost surprised that Davey didn't secure the kill with the airstrike.
Sure.
Instead of just trying to continuously auto attack. I think he was afraid of maybe some more rotations coming through.
Saw low, and Layers might consider an engage, but Fly and Rapio right there over the wall to have his back, so everyone ends up falling backwards from that last engagement. About 3,000 gold now. Favorite team Rivals. Crimson commits the dash, but they can't lock down Davey.
Recognizing no airstrike available, so wanting to put pressure on the Jing makes a lot of sense. Now Dinosaur in trouble.
DineOhSaw gets the epic uppercut off. Layers finally procs the passive, but Inbound gets caught by the ultimate RvLFly, and in comes Predators. It's 1-for-1. Crimson's already fallen. Davey low too, but he hasn't fallen yet. He's able to get the dash off. Inbound can't find the roll, but Layers gets the kill to make it 2-for-1.
Both Soul Laners making their presence felt as we're seeing that World Serpent from Predators chase down Layers.
Try and catch him in the backline. Inbound's here though, but doesn't have the Geb shield available. He's gonna need it, but Layers makes it back underneath the tier 2 tower. A-okay.
Another red buff invade as well to put the cherry at the very top as Rapio strips that one away. Fly doesn't want to probably pick that up as he has access to his own red buff. Without Spirit of the Nine Winds, it becomes a little harder to secure this objective, but no one from Hype Unit around the corner.
Yeah, Rival have earned this one off the back of the pressure they just established, and this will be their Gold Fury. Hype Unit can't make it in time to try and defend. Rival grab the objective and push that lead out a bit further. You might have thought there was no pulse left for this team, but they're still alive.
They definitely are here, Finch, because of the way DineOhSaw has been so aggressive in the backline. The full beneficiary is Rapio in most of these engagements. 5-0-1, part of 6 of his team's total, 7 kills. He's now trying to finish off the Transcendence to get 30% total CDR.
Davey level 11, 1-1 and 6 as well, so he's been a part of all 7 of these kills so far, including the one solo kill he got in left up against Oboronic, I believe. It looks like they've done a bit of a swap as Predators in some trouble here in right. He's been stunned down into tier 1, and without an ultimate, he's certainly dead to rights. Only question is, can DineOhSaw close the gap? But instead, he turns around for Inbound. A good call.
A very easy confirmed kill there, with Wolves having all that mobility and the dash. Just settle for the Geb instead, and honestly, if I'm Hype Unit, I'm very happy about that right now because Wolves has some free farm in the solo lane. You shut down Predators. That's been an absolute nightmare so far with all that penetration with his build, and survived for quite a long time with that Jade Emperor's Crown. That minus 30 physical power stripped away from Wolves, stripping away from Layers, is essentially almost equivalent to giving Predators 60 physical protection.
Looks like it is going to be a bit of a lane swap because Crimson's over in left now with the Agni, as opposed to Oboronic, we saw in the Olorun earlier on in this game. Do you think that this is just because they think Agni is safer over here in this matchup?
It feels that way, at least having some sort of movement gap closer with the dash, as well as, you know, the potential to bomb stun wherever he really wants to, whereas the only real peel from Olorun is that knock up around himself or the sanctified field, kind of stretching out a football field. So, sure. Surround the more vulnerable target with bodies to beat the bodyguards.
Pyromancer falls in favor of Rival, and they keep right on trucking in game number 2. They've been in control of this one for most of it so far, and they are starting to pull away a bit. Obviously, you can still fight into about 3,000 or 4,000 gold. These are all the beginnings of a lead that's going to be too far for Hype Unit to deal with.
Definitely not out of the realm of possibility to fight into, but Hype Unit, they see a little opening, they go for it. Layers stripping away a red buff, despite being down this amount of gold, will always look for the plays where he can get it, whether it's in the PvP and looking for a gank of an isolated target, or in the PvE to strip away a buff that's left unattended.
I mean, and this game's going to probably come down to Layers and Wolves at this point. Totally Wolves a little bit ahead of Predators, and Layers a little bit behind Rapio, but just about even. And not just that, but those are their 2 big playmakers as well, too. So they really need those 2 to be the ones to buy them some time for Oboronic and Crimson to catch back up and make up for the fact that they fell behind.
And it's also going to be important for Fly to be the game changer for Rival, right? Whether or not he hits these ultimates is a big factor. In the late game especially, the positioning of his tornadoes. He's opted for a Polynomicon here, so he's playing a different style than most Kukulkans tend to do. Trying to get off the basic attacks between abilities is a nice way to do it, but that could also hurt you too, because when you throw out a basic attack, you're receiving a movement penalty slow, allowing Hype Unit to maybe jump on it.
It is a bit odd that he chose to delay the pen, but I mean, if you take a quick glance over at Hype Unit's side, they only just got that runic shield. Is inbound by the 2-man Cataclysm. He's managed to get away from the tornado, but is pulled back in by Rapio, and Davey gets the kill credit, plus the tier 1. Not a bad fight at all.
Jumping the gun a little too early. I like the idea behind that engage. He's cookie cutter, you know, you blink, you Cataclysm, you find the knockup, but no one there to follow up at a Hype Unit. They just weren't in position. If you allow your tower to take a little bit of damage now, that forces Rival in this weird limbo mode where they have to decide, do we continue to go in the tower or do we try to defend against Hype Unit instead? But Inbound made that decision easier for Rival with how early he engaged.
And Rival capitalized perfectly on the back of it. Still in control here in this game. They've even opened up the map a bit with that tier 1 tower. Rapio gets the beads from Oboronic, more than beads, brings him down well below half. Wolves rotates in, but so does DineOhSaw with the epic uppercut. Shouldn't be enough for him to complete the kill.
Especially with that tornado now, hurting Wolves to get in. Look at the backline, there goes Predators.
And he's making his way right to Oboronic, a nice easy kill. Rapio blink back in to bring him low as well. Two-man mess from DineOhSaw, but Inbound makes his way back out. So it's time for the World Serpent to have something to say. A two-man knock-up, but he's got to disengage.
Our clean disengage now, transitioning to the speed buff. Not going to secure it now because he realizes he might be in a world of hurt, but I don't think Hype Unit are super interested. But now, sitting between the Phoenix and the tier 2 tower, trying to get between the tier 1 and the tier 2 Predators. I don't know how you get out of this one, buddy.
Well, the rest of his team is going to, at the very least, get a Primal Fury on the back of this. Predators does get collapsed on by 3 members, so not the worst trade in the world. Giving up the Soul Laner for this Primal Fury here and left, especially as it looks like Hype Unit won't be able to get much more other than that off the back of this.
Very important trade-off there as well, because if anyone's going to go down, you want it to be first in line is your support, second in line is definitely your Soul Laner. And when you're going to sacrifice either of those 2 targets for a Primal Fury, that helps you in the late game to make it 7% faster to kill the Fire Giant, 7% less damage you take from that Fire Giant, where Hype Unit are not getting anything from the immediate death out of Predators. This puts Rival in the best possible late game scenario.
Plus, they got that kill onto Oboronic in the middle of that fight in the middle lane too, so all of that stuff does make it pretty worth it for Predators to eventually end up falling in that trade. Oboronic has not been able to get comfortable here on this Olorun. And you heard Zeros talk about on the desk, there's not a ton of hard counters to him in this matchup. He just hasn't been given room to farm.
Definitely not, unfortunately, in the 1v1 on the long lane side because of also how DineOhSaw opened up the game. Oboronic was expecting to get his own purple buff at level 1, knowing that he couldn't have contested the Jing pushing power, but DineOhSaw didn't make that even a possibility with his positioning. Rival came prepared with how Hype Unit liked to open up with the Olorun.
DineOhSaw reses controls Inbound. Inbound flips pass for the Cataclysm, but there's a tornado from Fly right there, and Inbound gets chipped away at. Davey has the airstrike and repositions with the squad. Everyone is here from Hype Unit, but that does not deter Rival. DineOhSaw continue considering another initiation.
Trying to root Wolves in place, get him a little bit out of position. Their Predators still looping around here, looking for the flank behind the tier 1 tower.
He's going to sneak through the back, and they didn't recognize it. Two-man knock-up and the spit. He has to go immediately into the ultimate, but DineOhSaw, Rapio, and the squad start to aggress the Wolves. Oboronic is low, but gets a perfect Gem Shield from Inbound to keep him alive, and they punish Predators in the back.
And even Wolves survives, only losing their tier 1 tower. Hype Unit can easily continue this pressure, but they have no Fury to get off of the back of this. They could move over all the way to the right side for at least a Pyromancer.
What a safe push from Rival that was. I mean, yeah, it was a bit of an overcommit for that one, a bit of a flyer, but they knew there wasn't nearly as much punish on the left-hand side, and they remained relatively healthy. It was just Predators that was at risk. I think that that's not a bad play to go for, because the upside might even be game-ending, really, with that.
Sure. And it was Hype Unit that forced that fight to begin with. A lot of pressure immediately onto DineOhSaw. Sanctified Field was used, trying to catch this Kumbhakarna out of position. So Rival were like, oh, without that ultimate, now we're going to counter-push you. So a nice little attempt there. But Rival, they need to be cleaner in the late game, because this 4,000 goal lead at the 25-minute mark becomes just dwindled heavily.
Yeah, its value would start to depreciate for sure. And I said, man, Hype Unit's the kind of team you don't want sticking around in striking distance, because they can execute truly at any moment. Look where Oboronic is, getting all this solo farm over there and left, slowly trying to catch back up. Soon, you're going to have an Olorun to worry about.
With how fast Rival were able to get those objectives, I think Hype Unit can do the same now with Oboronic. Getting this level 14, he needs a lot of help now out of Inbound.
Yeah, he's in some trouble. Davey doesn't commit the dash, but Oboronic turns around knowing he's got to try and fight, but there's just no way. A great heavy rotation from Rival over to left, and they punish Oboronic.
They're just missing too many wards, Finch. Hype Unit are visionless on the left side of the map. Committing that deep for a tier 1 tower 19 minutes in, very unwarranted, but the same could be said for Davey here.
Hype unit willing to heavily commit here. They didn't have enough hits, though, to get the stun from that, but Cataclysm does it. Can't even make it off the ground with the airstrike. Davey, how does he get left alone in that spot? Predators forced into the ultimate as well, and Rival give one back when there was no need.
That was definitely very unnecessary. Now, there was no tower even on the left side, so Davey pushing it that deep, unless he had backup from literally every member, the better positioning would to be on the right side of the map because of how long Oboronic was dead for. Use that to your power play. Get a tier 1 in the solo tower, go for some sort of pressure where there's still a tier 1 tower standing.
I talked about Oboronic and his potential to get back in this game, but in the meantime, Crimson has caught up, man. Level 17 on this Agni is about to finish. This 4th item he's working on at this point too, so he's going to be in a really good spot to kind of be that in-between until Boronic's really ready to fully take that baton from him. It was a Shaman's Ring. That's going to be plenty of damage.
Oh, it definitely will be. Crimson building the Agnis similar to the way he built the Thoth, so I like the style that he builds these mages. You're definitely going to feel the pain out of Crimson.
Hype unit got to show up, though. Fire Giant being started now by Rival. This fight has huge implications for both of these teams, but Hype unit aren't even going to show up in time. Fire Giant's already low. There's the ultimate secure, and Rival stripped the objective away.
Rival just pulling a fast one on Hype unit. This is normally what Hype unit like to do on the rag, but walking away clean like bandits as well, not even losing anyone off of the back of that secure.
Just a great call there from Team Rival. You're so correct there, Tully. And Hype unit clearly didn't expect it because they had no one there to try and defend. I mean, they're only down 4K. They definitely could have defended a Fire Giant.
This is what's missing out of Rival. Plays like that to be able to separate themselves from being, you know, a good team to a great elite team. There are calculations of the late game objectives, like the Furies, like the Fire Giants.
And knowing how to capitalize on your small windows. I mean, when I talk to pros, they say it all the time. The biggest difference in good and bad teams is recognizing when you have an advantage, however small it is, and the right way to capitalize on it. And that's what Rival did. They had a window, they got Fire Giant, they had a window, they got gold.
And I'm recognizing a lot of maturity out of Predators. He's not just like pressing his W key or whatever, or pressing up in the D-pad instead, right? Like he's backing off as well on the Jormungandr. He basically baited out a lot of cooldowns from Crimson while his team was getting that Fury.
Crimson, yet again, not being allowed to back.
Maybe as I said that, I said it a little too early, Finch.
You can't use this second chart.
Oh,
okay,
no.
I guess you can. Now he's going to disengage, but where does he go?
No, he's just dead now. I spoke too soon, Finch.
You know, you can take the Predators out of the console league, but you can't take the console out of Predators. That's just how he plays.
That's the caster's curse, man. I was giving him so much credit. And he threw it all away, Finch.
That's vintage Predators, though. I mean, you take the good and the bad with him, and that's exactly how he likes to play.
That's a come on, bro moment.
It certainly is. Unnecessary death there from him in a pretty major way. And that does slow down this push potential now for Team Rival in the back of this Fire Giant play.
Yeah. That slows down a lot of steam that was being built up. Rival with still a comfortable lead, I would say, still having the Fire Giant objective for another 2 minutes. Gives them some windows to get the 3 remaining towers, totaling 3,500 gold. Hype unit could still play defense still, don't get me wrong. Oboronic and Crimson, these double mages.
It's time for a fight in the middle lane. DineOhSaw has been caught way towards the back of the fight, but here comes the Typhoon from Rapio. And that should delay the proceedings, at least for now. Bit of a stall tactic as they need to regroup, despite being the ones with Fire Giant, for another minute and a half.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they were taking that fight without Predators still being up. But now that he's respawned, he's going to be available now. Still having the Fire Giant for another minute and a half or so. Can we look at gold in hand real quick? Okay, 1,800 here, because I've been noticing that Predators has been in the fountain for a little bit of time. Waiting for something.
I don't know what it is in particular he's looking for, but he's moved on now. Perhaps it was just the teleport, as that is on a pretty short cooldown. And
why not just walk out of fountain?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he had to TP there. But
oh, he got... Okay, never mind. He purchased an item there.
There you go. all of Hype Unit grouped up and left, as is all of Rival except for Predators. So it's a bit of a base race here at this point, as both teams grab the tier 2, but Hype Unit are full-on backing, but they're not going to get the chance. Predators comes in with the ultimate, doesn't quite stop the entirety of the back though, so that means 2 members of Hype Unit trying to defend, but they don't get there in time. Rival sneak away a Phoenix, and Predators gets 1 kill. That's huge.
That is such a worthy sacrifice, because
Yes.
now without the damage dealer out of Oboronic, there's no hope for Hype Unit to get a Phoenix of their own, even if there was some backs being canceled.
And now Layers in some trouble, has to use the beads to get away. Rival not ready to give this game up or this set just yet. They've been fighting so hard here in game number 2 to try and grab that crown.
This Xbox European team are trying to stretch it to a game number 3 and show us what they're all about here. Hype Unit on the back foot this game, but so far they've been looking like they're slowly making a comeback in terms of getting the tier 2 town on the left side, but Rival have some great tactics to respond by getting a Phoenix on the right instead.
And remember, Toli, there's not a ton on the line in terms of how things change for you in placements here. I mean, Hype Unit out cold, that's about the same level of a team you're fighting. Sure. Not a whole lot of difference there, either which side of the bracket that you end up on. But they're giving us 100% here right now. Both of these teams, you can tell it means a lot to them to be able to be that top console team.
I'll tell you what though, Finch, there's definitely a lot of bragging rights between these two teams of whoever wins the console wars at the end of the day.
They're rivals, man.
Yeah, they're on the same platform, they're just on different regions at this point.
And they've been battling for a while now, man. I mean, I feel like it's since the end of Season 4, basically, when that's when Rival really came onto the scene. At the start of Season 5 was when the Hype Unit, as we know them, started to form. So this rivalry's been going on for about 2 years, and it's culminating right here as DineOhSaw blinks to the back line, looking for Oboronic. Meanwhile, Predators has Crimson, but Inbound's already low, pulled back into Rapio's clutches, and he falls.
Oh, but Fly could be in a little bit of trouble, forced to use that ultimate and the Aegis. Layers now trying to get away from the World Serpent.
That's a huge stun, though, from Crimson that keeps Layers alive, but Rapio's on a warp path. That's a double for him in this fight as he gets both Wolves and Inbound, and they go right back towards the FG.
Looks like Rival should be able to secure this one. Hype Unit will relinquish any sort of contention there, as they have to defend the right side against the Fire Minions.
Really no choice but to back, and Rival gearing up for one more big push. And we said it, I mean, they had a really good draft here. Not quite as good as Hype Units, but it's still one I think could end up working for them. And Rapio's played so well in the Susano, so has DineOhSaw too in this Kumbhakarna, and they've really made this team work.
I think it was a comfort thing for Hype Unit that they struggled with, where Inbound didn't look super comfortable on the Geb. And you can tell how early he wanted to force certain fights, and then once Hype Unit got stopped early, in the sense that Oboronic couldn't farm his side of the map early, he got solo killed as well, that really slowed down the momentum from Hype Unit's previous win.
It really did. I mean, they got grinded to a halt in this game number 2 as the tier 2 tower in mid should come down no trouble. This will be all about the Phoenixes, and right side things will be up before too long, but it'll be in a weakened state. Rival have all day to play with this FG.
And because of that, they're going to split the map. 4-1 split, use your global pressure with Predators to force somebody to defend middle, and Predators can just do this.
He's stepping up though, he's been hit by the Cataclysm, he still doesn't have the ultimate yet. Did Hype Unit have the timer on it? How'd they know to commit? They get a perfect kill, and now they're looking for Davey, no stun there, but Hype Unit might have a chance.
They could continue this, but they have to respect the fact that the right side Phoenix is going to respawn. If they chase for those kills, they'll lose the right side bird.
So they send Layers over to defend by himself. That makes the 4v4 in left, and that 4v4 does still favor Rival. I like that they've repositioned aggressively.
I just don't see how Rival can force this. Even with a 4-on-4, Layers being there on the right side to defend, there's not enough sustain for themselves team-wide to be able to continue that pressure. Davey can't get in when there's a lot of bombs he has to go through.
But that's 2 big plays now from Predators. That's robbed his team of momentum. The play in mid where he dives the Phoenix with the ultimate, and now where he insists on this aggressive pathing through the Phoenix without the ultimate.
If he just waited 5, maybe 10 seconds in total, he would have been totally justified in making that pathing decision. But instead, he forces it too hard, similar to how Inbound forced that tier 1 tower defense in like the 8-minute mark.
Well, Predator should be back now. He had the upgraded teleport, so they can still try and make this siege happen, but he bought Hyping it some time to get that right side Phoenix up. This next push, with this next wave pushing up and right, is going to be critical.
Yeah, it's either go time now or never, as DineOhSaw goes in and messes out Inbound.
Inbound's already taking good poke, has to use the Gev Shield on himself as well, so a valuable tool on cooldown for a little while longer, but keep an eye on Layers. He's lurking over that wall, trying to find his time to blink in.
He wants to go in, but at the same time, somebody has to rotate to the right side. That wave is about to come crashing through the door.
And it's going to be Layers. Layers is the one that rotates over to defend the right side Phoenix. This is Rival's moment. Predators again is the target. They lock him down underneath the Phoenix, but Inbound gets crushed by a huge ultimate from Fly. They send Wolves back as well. Predators still has the ultimate charge, but can't quite hit Wolves. Meanwhile, the left side Phoenix being shredded. They take down the Snake, but the left side Firebird comes down.
Only losing out Predators. They get 2 kills. They get 2 Firebirds. This is Rival's game now to take.
It is. Rival are in control. They have been all game long. Crimson finds some good damage there with the Agni, and that pushes Rival back, but they still can't seem to find a way to break the base, but they're not giving up. All 5 members are going to keep pushing 20 more seconds on FG.
They have the damage, but they need the health bars. DineOhSaw not the healthiest, neither is Rapio.
Perfect. Tornado being placed down. DineOhSaw trying to take Oboronic. Gets doved by Rapio. Has the Sanctified Field available. Wolves is too low to do much more frontlining either. And Davey moving in for shots. That's all 3 Phoenixes down.
DineOhSaw does have the passive, doesn't even care whether or not he goes down. Even keeping the passive for a rainy day, and Rival have made hype units tight and at the most vulnerable form. They're going to wait out for the Fire Giant respawn, secure this enhanced version of the buff, and go for game 3.
We talk about it all the time. Hype unit, such a seasoned team, capable of making all these decisions correctly, late game and executing well. But Rival have now taken them all the way to the brink. All 3 Phoenixes down. One of the hardest game states to recover from in all of SMITE is all 3 Phoenixes down. This one's Rivals to lose.
A lot of credit to Rapio in this game, and even in the last one on the Thor. He played lights out, I think, on that one too. 7-0-7. He is taking off for Rival to secure this win. With all 6 items completed, he's only missing on swapping out his boots for another item after picking up the Swiftness Potion.
This will be the first enhanced Fire Giant of the game that spawns in now. And I don't see a world with all these Fire Minion ways to deal with Hype that we can defend it. This will belong to Team Rival. They'll have enhanced FG to make their final push. And all they have to do is take down the Titan. They already gotten all the Phoenixes.
Now, Rapio did sell the boots, picked up the Swiftness Potion, and has a Titan's Mate. So has even more damage to confirm on this objective. All 5 members with the EFG now. It's looking very clean for Rival to be able to stretch it to game 3.
It'll be virtually true damage up against these squishies, and he'll be able to chew through even Inbound and Wolves, and they're taking it, so they take the fight outside of the base, and they blow up Davey right away. Looks like Rival weren't expecting that one, and Hype Unit collapse.
This is kind of what Rival were doing to Big Money Esports when DineOhSaw was playing the Horus to take the fights outside of the Phoenixes, capitalizing on it. I think Rival predicted that play, because as soon as the blink happened, Predators goes into the World Serpent form. He's been a victim of too many cataclysm and deaths during that, so good adaptations from him. But now his other side laner, Davey, not used to it, didn't get off any relics or his ultimate before dying.
He died with everything available. Clearly wasn't expecting that one. As Hype Unit by some much needed time. If you can at least get the Phoenixes up, that changes the calculus around this defense so much. So Davey, 10 seconds away, even with the Jing wave passive, it'll be a good bit of time after that, so Hype Unit can start pushing up more waves.
And even to maybe just get enough gold to start selling your blessings to just be on the same line of defense that Rival is bringing the offense.
That's about all they can hope for at this point, is Hype Unit had to give up everything they've had here in this game to even stretch it this far, and Rival on the precipice of going all the way to game 3 in the Console Wars Finals. They have Davey back in amongst them now to go make one more push.
And that's going to be 1 or 2 more similar tactics that Hype Unit have to pull out of the bag for this one, because I think Rival can afford 1 more mistake before Hype Unit are really back into this game with their late game composition. So they're going to be a little bit more careful now with Davey's positioning, recognizing that Inbound will not hesitate on these Blink Cataclysms.
The two side Phoenixes are back up, and Rival are pulling the trigger. Inbound, the early target. Sanctified Field catches Davey, but he makes it out with the airstrike. Big Typhoon cuts down oBoronic, but he's still alive for now. Aegis immunes a lot of damage here from him. Rival have to regroup and find another spot to initiate.
Going to be disengaging is Predators. Right and left side Phoenix respawn. Rival transitioning over to the left side. DineOhSaw keeping an eye on where Hype Unit is going to go, and I like the way Rival engaged there. They took the fight to Inbound, making sure he wasn't going to blink on their own backline.
Keep that Gev from Cataclysm being shielding. In comes the ultimate, but it doesn't. Crimson, he has time to get the Aegis off. Rapio fighting with Layers. They're taking the fight right to the set, but he's still alive even now. This might be the fight Hype Unit need, but Davey comes through and takes down oBoronic.
The Kingslayer was just so good. Rapio takes out one. Predators falls to Crimson as well. Wolves couldn't get out of this one.
Wolves is in trouble as well. Rivals still have 4 members up, and they took down the right side. Phoenix as well. Hype Unit clinging to their chances with Crimson and Layers, the only 2 to defend.
DineOhSaw is very low. Their front line is going to be struggling, but they have the DPS required from Fly and Davey if they could just get in there cleanly.
Crimson commits the bombs on the Rapio, and Rapio removes him. That should do it here for this game. We're going all the way to Game 3 in the Console Wars Finals. How could you ask for anything more?
Hype Unit falls to Rival in game number 2, and these Europeans are looking for blood.
Yeah.
They found the victories in Season 5, being successful in the spring and almost in the fall, but now it's Hype Unit's turn to answer back after losing Game 2.
And there's been so much talk around Hype Unit. I mean, from all of us, it's not just that they were the favorites here in console, but that they could even do well in that placement bracket, winning a couple matches there and potentially going the distance. But Rival never bought into any of that. They knew they still had a chance here to grab this win, get it all the way to that 3rd game where they have a chance to be the champions themselves.
They recognize Predators really thriving on the Jormungandr, first picking it in game number 2, still banning away a lot of key components there, making sure that the Amaterasu was still for Wolves. They didn't really care about that one, and then doing their homework, shutting down oBoronic in a way by not killing him, but by denying him farm on his own purple buff.
Well, day number 1 is going to come all the way down to the final game here to determine who the Console Wars champion is. We'll have someone crowned after this break.
Welcome back to the analyst desk of the SMITE Console Wars. We're into the finals here on the very first day of the placements and the only day of the Console Wars. Hype Unit up against Rival, and Rival have just bounced it back to make it a 1-for-1. We're going to a Game 3 momentarily to crown our champions. Heroes, good fight overall from Rival. Good bounce back from them. You said you liked their composition on paper, but you were still favouring Hype Unit and their performance. Well, Rival came out big there.
Yeah, I mean, we told them they need to shut down Olorun, and they did just exact that. So, and then just looked really good, like compared to the first game. Yeah,
right at the start of the game, all the focus was on that Olorun and the dual lane. It wasn't really just the Olorun they were after. They're shutting down the purples, taking that away, stripping away this farm, and they ended up developing Rival into a very comfortable lead.
Yeah.
But it took Rival a long time to close out that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's only Predators kind of trolling. At 2 different points.
Yeah.
One time they have a 5-man fire giant ready to siege. He decides to ult into the enemy Titan room and just die, so they lose the fire. And then the second time, they have 5-man fire again. He walks through the mid-Phoenix without his ult up and just dies and kind of just delaying the game. I feel if he didn't troll, they would have won this game a lot earlier.
Potentially. I mean, he did credit where it's due, though. He died on the first one and entered a little bit, but then answered back by defending left-hand side, allowing his team to get a Phoenix in the process of that. And Davey, though, on this Jing way,
that was close.
Nearly choked in that moment with those those basics, but the airstrike kept him safe. And Crimson on the Agni really couldn't get things going. You were saying his damage was a little bit low for your liking this game.
I think he did alright, but it's always hard when you're against a Jorm, because he's so annoying. Like, he goes into the ult, and like you can never stand still. You have to be on the move all the time. It's hard to position yourself. So that's just how it is sometimes. But Rapio on this Susano did so much damage. I don't know if you saw that, but the last fight before they killed the Titan, I think he killed Agni. He 2'd him.
Yeah.
One auto and one swing of his one, and he just one-shot him. So I don't know how he did that much damage.
It's probably the 3k pot as well, I'd expect, with the fact we're in super late game territory there. Fly playing on the Kukulkan. This game worked out pretty well. I think the one person that really stood out to me as having a strugglesome game from Hype Unit really was Inbowned on that Geb. He just had a bit of an awkward situation to try and be in the right spot at the right time. He got picked off in the early game. You got some good blink initiations, but the problem is that nobody was really there to follow up.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes though, like he did on the Jorm, and they even got a super big pick on the Jing at one point when they were also about to siege with fire. We kind of held them off for a bit. But yeah, in the early game, he died a lot, and like, he looks a lot better on the aggressive support so far.
Well, then it's back to the drawing board for both these two teams. We've seen so far the Isis wasn't really working for Rival. With that game, they went with the Kukulkan, and that seemed to pay off a little bit better for him. Sure, it brings a bit of a different vibe to the team and the strategy, though. I think it's time to take away Jing away from Davey, though.
Yeah, he's like playing it every game pretty much. I look really confident on it, puts in a lot of work. Just annoying God to play against too, right? So safe in lane, free farms, and then like late game you have so much crit and deal so much damage. So yeah, maybe see if what else he can play, you know. And
then we've got the Jormungandr as well for Predators, which could be taken away this game. We'll see if Hype Unit decide to ban that away in picks and bans or even take it for themselves. Interesting tale though, because I really felt like as the game went on, you'd expect this Hype Unit roster's composition would outscale almost and cause problems. But Rival had their foot on the neck for so long with the Phoenixes being down. It made it tricky.
Yeah, I think Hype Unit kind of messed up early game though a little bit, because they got picked a little bit, and then there was one red buff. Rival went for a red buff invade, and Hype Unit tried to defend it. They did defend it, but they traded 1-for-1, and they lost a full creep wave in dual lane and a full creep wave in mid. While pre-5, you know, there's so much XP lost, and they were already behind, and after that, they were just struggling the whole game.
I think the key there was pre-5 all that happened, and that experience so important to these two teams. Hype Unit are going to instantly take first pick and instantly ban Kumbhakarna. Clearly, DineOhSaw on that Kumbhakarna caused enough problems for them to shut down what Hype were trying to get going, so they're like, okay, what else have you got in the god pool? I like this map.
Yeah, I do. Super good with Kukulkan as well. I sets up Kukulkan perfectly, and also peels really well for the Kukulkan as well. Kukulkan needs peel. He has like a speed increase, but that doesn't really help you when you're against his fast junglers with blinks. So.
That's true. I mean, you've got a bit of a wiggle. It slows off as well as you get towards the tail end. I'm going to ban away the Ratatoska as well. So far it's real just direct shots towards Rival. Rival though, take away the Thoth, take away Inbound's possibility of Circuit. Jormungandr, King Arthur, Isis, Persephone, all on the table here, to name a few. Then there's even Thor.
Yeah, and like, Isis and Persephone are probably the big ones, right?
Yeah.
But then the thing, like, we've seen Rival play Isis, did not look good. We haven't seen Hype play Isis. Maybe they do really well on Isis.
It's not a bad idea, actually. Yeah, maybe you leave Isis up if you're Rival and hope Hype Unit don't take it, but I think Isis could be played by... Maybe you do leave Isis up, actually, if you're Hype Unit. You're right. King Arthur banned away, Jormungandr's still up, Persephone up, Isis up, Thor up. They're the big names.
Yes.
Amaterasu too.
Yeah, but for Rival, you don't want to trade Persephone for Isis here, right? So I would expect a Persephone ban.
Right.
Because I don't think they want to give away Persephone and take Isis for themselves when Isis did so poorly for them the earlier games. So probably a Persephone ban here, right?
It must be. Well, we'll see if we see Rival go with that, because this is where it gets interesting in terms of meta discussion. When teams have been playing in the best of 3 series, seeing each other's picks and bans a little bit so far, you'll see the meta bans sometimes get through, and then you get to find out if these two teams have practiced them or have strategies to either deal with them or to push through for the victory. Winner of the console wars is on this game, and Rival going to take a long, hard think about who they want to ban away here. What you want the Persephone ban here?
Isis ban, okay.
Persephone up. Which ones are the worst to deal with, Zeros, in your point of view?
I think Persephone.
The underworld opens.
Kind of weird with the Isis ban, because like even if they don't ban Isis here, and Hype picks Isis, then they still get Persephone, right? I don't know. I guess,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we've seen Persephone in the Pro League now and again, mainly towards the dual lane is what I've seen played. I've seen it mid as well. I've seen a bit of a juggle between the two. Horrywinder's has taken it from Dignitas towards the dual lane a little bit, and I've seen it once or twice in mid. Rather going to give Predators Jormungandr again. Long as he doesn't go a bit crazy in the later stages, it still will work out potentially well for them there. And Davy gets his, Davy gets his Jing way yet again. No surprise.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good for Rival, just picking what's been working out for them, right?
But Amaterasu Thor available? I'm a little bit concerned about that.
Yeah, but I mean, they've dealt with Amaterasu last game, right?
That's true.
And it was the same matchup with Jorm then, so I think it's fine.
Feels like Hype might just go for the meta picks then, and Rival just going to go back to what they're comfortable with for this final. Hype going to have a think, as with Persephone locked in. It's going to go with the Hercules for Inbound here.
Yeah, must be. Like we talked about it, he looked way better on aggressive support, right? He played the gap, did not look so good. Herc, probably the most aggressive support you can play, so probably a good look for them.
Yeah, we'll see if it's going to go to Inbound. Then Merlin, this time for Hype Unit. Could go to Crimson or Oboronic here, so there's a bit of a change up between the two. They can both play these gods. We'll get to find out once we get into game, but Rival now realise what they've got to deal with from the first 3 picks, and Bobby's got a smile on his face here, as Rival now get a chance to pick what they want. It's going to be the Kukulkan again, but they won't have that combo of appeal this time.
Yeah, but maybe they could run Nasha support or something. Even better setup than Kumbha, honestly, because it's easier to follow up on a Nasha ult than it is to follow up on a Kumbha ult. But obviously not as good peel. But something they could look for.
It's a good point. Set banned away from Rival. Layers will have to play a new god this set, that's for sure. Hype Unit have some bans of their own. I wonder if they will sense that Naja, because Rival haven't picked a jungler just yet either. So they do have a bit of flexibility in that jungle position too. Hype going to recognise the Thor. I would like the Naja ban though, I agree with you, just because of Kukulkan's setup being so good with the Naja ultimate.
Yeah, good comp for like shutting down a Hercules support as well, right? As soon as Kukulkan and Nasha would hit 5, they can just kill the Herc. Because like Herc support wants to play really far up and like be annoying, you know, but if you get sashed into Nasha ult into one shot, what do you do?
There's no real response there. Hype Unit going to have a think about what they want to get away with. Thanatos from Rival though, recognising that Layers could go for that. Those executes get you to the back line, and the rise of Thanatos is something a lot of people have been speaking about just lately.
Yeah, it's just because of the early game and like people skipping out on Assassin's Blessing and rushing boots fits Thanatos perfectly. Nasha is up. I wonder if they're going to go for it.
I mean, I do know Rapio's got it in his god pool if he wants to go for this here. It's pretty good against some of these shutdowns. I mean, Persephone's only got that one flourish ability to be able to dash away. It's very telegraphed to be able to follow up after that. Merlin, same can be said, short distance escape on that flicker.
Yeah.
Lots of possibilities for this Naja to come big if they go with it. And
there we go.
Look at that. Look at those analysts on the desk. We're doing great work today.
That was all me.
It was. Listen, it's always you. Don't worry. I'm not going to argue with that. Hype Unit, though. What do you do if your Hype Unit responds now?
You're probably discussing this Herc. You should probably go beats on level 1, I guess, maybe.
Erlang Shen being looked at here. I've seen a lot of Erlang in the jungle. No real surprises to see this run. Is it good against Naja, though?
I think he trades really well into Nasha if you have beats up. Obviously, if you don't have beats up, it's always risky. So, but then again, on the other side, apart from this Nasha, they don't have a lot of beat force, right? So they need something else here that can force beats, a support.
Does Odin force beats?
Odin does not force beats.
I was asking, that's all. Odin picked up by Hype Units last week. It's not a surprise to see that we're on console and there's an Odin picked up somewhere along the way.
This is good.
The Awilix?
Yeah, like, because Jorm has such an easy time to knock people off, because he comes from stealth, right? And knock them up into Awilix ult. And then you have Kukulkan to follow up on the Awilix ult, right? So I actually really like this Awilix pick.
We've got the Naja for the setup with the Windfire wheels for Kukulkan, but also the Feather Step on Awilix. It pins you in place when you do use that Feather Step, so there's a chance for extra damage there. That Odin is really there to lock down a lot of what Rival have. Kukulkan can't escape the ring, neither can Naja or Jormungandr realistically outside of Jormungandr's ult. They have a bit of potential Hype Unit with that Odin pick. Yeah. I just don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah, we're probably going to see a Phantom on this Nasha. This must be Nasha support, so probably going to see a Phantom on that. And then the only one that can really shut down is like the Kukulkan in the ring, I feel like, anyway. And they don't have... I guess Merlin has a lot of AoE damage in the ring. Persephone, I suppose.
I think that Awilix pick is just very inspired from Rival in this one, and mainly because the Odin was the last pick from Hype Unit, and then when Odin gets locked in, immediately you think about leaps and the fact he's going to drop the ring. Well, those leaps, that's where Awilix comes in and shuts those down.
Yeah, I think really a nice draw from Rival, actually. And like, if we didn't watch the previous game, I would probably have given this to Hype, but I kind of feel like Rival probably has this now.
I mean, look at the stage of the game as well. They've got clear 4 objectives as well, because one thing I'm worried about Hype Unit is on Phoenix Sieges. They're going to have to rely on the Erlang Shen, the Hercules, the Odin to walk up a little bit more. So Merlin and Persephone won't bring as much as you want there.
Yeah, a lot of range poke coming up from Merlin and Persephone, both of them. We have the plant and Merlin, so many long-range abilities as well. So, like, I think if they get to a position where they can start sieging, I don't think they will be in a problem.
Okay.
As long as their front line don't get one-shot by the Nasha combo.
Are we going 30 minutes? Are we going 40 minutes, 50? What do you expect?
I would assume probably a long game, unless... I think if Rival gets off to a good start, it could be a quick one.
That's true.
Because if this Nasha Kukulkan gets ahead and this Herc doesn't get ahead early game, I think they're just going to pick on this Hercules. You've seen Inbound, even on the Circuits, which is even more safe than Hercules, getting picked a lot in the early game. So
not a problem. If you end up dying as a support, though, as long as your team can follow up and get some kills, can make it worthwhile. This is it. This is the chance. The SMITE Console Wars finals are here. Hype Unit 1, Rival 1. It's only a best of 3. Who is going to take victory here and be crowned the champion? We'll get to find out soon, as these two are getting themselves loaded in right about now. And the winners and the losers both march on to tomorrow. The casters are standing by. Hype Unit versus Rival.
Game number 3 in the Console Wars final. Hard to imagine it coming down to anything better than this. And Crimson will be getting Persephone. We so rarely see her make it through nowadays, Anatoly. You almost wonder, does everyone have one in their god pool and ready to go? And Crimson clearly looking comfortable as they snap pick it.
And this is Persephone, I think, post changes as well, going from stat count of 10 to 6 on the Harvest as well, so dropping those as well, so she can flourish them at level 2 once she does rank up this ability. And I think this is a good god to have in general because of the way the ultimate interacts. The root, the cripple, really shuts down Rapio as well on this Awilix. That is so important for him to get off the Feather Step. If he's crippled, he can't use that ability.
That's exactly right. Crimson on this Persephone and how much impact he can have is only one of many headlines. Wolves on what I think is just his signature pick, man, with this Odin. He plays it so well, and in a big game like this, of course, he pulls it out here. Layers on the Erlang Shen, that's one of his signature picks. He's not quite as good in the jungle as he used to be, the Erlang, but Layers plays this pick so well that I'm never going to tell him not to grab it. And Inbound blinks past. They want to try and find Rapio here in the early game. They get the beads out from, but Inbound stuck in the tornado.
Oh, Layers needs a lot of help here. DineOhSaw trying to do what he can. Inbound gets off the driving strike, but he misses one basic attack that might have been able to secure the kill.
And Layers can't really come back in. He's so low. First blood for Hype Unit. And they're not going to let Layers back here either. He gets interrupted.
I think
and this
he
could be a
canceled it.
second one. Well, yeah,
I
but
think he actually canceled it, and honestly, he might have been out if he just continued to back there.
if he had finished it, maybe he would have, but instead Rival open up the game 3 of the finals with a 2-0, shutting down this double warrior start from Hype Unit. That's about as bad of it as a beginning as this can go.
And it was all because Rival had the 3-on-2 advantage. Fly recognized what Inbound wanted to do, but Inbound found a window to blink past him, go into the speed camp, and still make his presence, but those tornadoes was such a difference maker in that quote-unquote 2-on-2.
Yeah, I think that you're correct to say that Inbound and Layers could have won that had it just been them there, but once Rivals showed up, that tipped the scales way too much into Rivals' favor. Layers blinks in, still looking to be aggressive, has the pin, but it's not enough damage there. DineOhSaw makes it out.
Still think the experience per minute is not that big of a difference now between the support and jungler styles. So yes, there was a big gold boost of a bounty because of that first blood for Rival, but honestly, I'm not too worried here because the Hercules that's behind, that's also a Naja behind, despite finding those 2 assists, it's not that bad for Hype Unit, I think, at the end of the day.
They've got to continue to keep playing with that aggressive mindset. That's why you picked this Hercules and the Erlang Shen, and they're certainly not going to cut it if you just try and fall back and play a normal game. So that's why we're starting to see Hype Unit continue to step up this aggression, leashing a little bit more farm away from one another to try and catch back up. And even though it cuts a little bit into the lead for Oboronic and Crimson, they have to try and grab some of that farm and catch back up.
And the way Hype Unit are trying to make these changes in game number 3 is going back to Inbound being aggressive on the Hercules nonetheless.
Wolves in trouble in right now. He's been hit by the Feather Step, trying to jump his way back towards the tower and makes it. So it looks like he should be okay despite the pressure.
Now, that's only Rapio being level 3 now.
Right.
Once Willish has that ultimate, the Gravity Surge, that Odin is not getting out of that one. He's going to have to only use his cage defensively and not jump, otherwise he's getting pulled back in.
to red buff invade here in the cards for Hyping, and Layers gets knocked up, takes a ton of damage from Davey, who dashes in aggressively. Davey takes down Layers' rival now, starting to punish Hyping, and Inbound in trouble as well, as RvLRapio gets one more. 4-0 for Rival, shutting down Hype Unit.
Both frontliners that fell first minute into the game now, both fall at 3 minutes into the game. Rival are punishing Hype Unit's aggression.
Yeah.
They're really anticipating it, and they got the numbers prepared for it. Level 2 on Layers, he doesn't really have that much tools necessary to be able to get out of that one before he gets the 9 turns blessing to be able to get a little bit of a heal off.
Inbound blinks, can't find the pull on the Fly, who gets the back off in time. Fly working to book a Thoth as the cooldown boots are finished here at this point. But Hyping have got to find some kind of way to turn this momentum around. Erlang, Shen, and Hercules, I mean, yes, they're still good later on, but that's because they oftentimes come into the mid to late game with a lead. Not the case here.
No, definitely not. And the way Layers has been building, he actually rushed Ninja Tabai to start off the game, and then he's transitioned into the Assassin's Blessing. So he's heavily behind in the stacking department, whereas Rapio sitting at about 30 stacks faster as opposed to Layers.
RvLRapio has to run at this point. He's being chased out by Inbound as well as by Layers, and he makes his way out of there using Suko. Suku as much as he possibly can in that one to make sure he gets back out of there. Meanwhile, Fly hiding here underneath the tier 1 tower. He knows that if he steps even too far forward, he could pull Hyping it right back into this if he ends up giving up a kill. I love the cautious play.
And playing the Cuckoo, he has nothing to worry about. He could just drop the Tornado right out there, use the Gust to slow the melee minions. He's not going to lose out on any realistic gold farm, but despite Hype Unit failing a minute and a half ago, they're going for round number 2.
RvLRapio gets away from the driving strike. They have DineOhSaw locked down, and they find their first kill of the game, desperately needed. The ultimate from Crimson, the Grasp of Death, finds very little, and now Davies rotating in, feeling himself a bit. Airstrike allows him to reposition, but Hype Unit have to give it up.
And even Predators made the rotation with the teleport as well, so this is an all-in defense try out of Rival.
Rival have kind of decided that if they can win this early game, they probably just win the game because Hype Unit are so early game skewed, and I think they've made that calculus correctly. Don't let them get these red buff invades or any of these picks.
But look what Wolves has been able to do with Predator's absence. He's invaded the back camps now, stripping that potential farm away from Predators, away from Rapio, which benefits Layers to actually get back into this game with this little bit of experience gap. He's now been able to hit level 5, has healing available on the ultimate.
Look at Oboronic. I mean, he's at a really good spot here right now on this Merlin, a little bit ahead of Davey, Crimson, a little bit ahead of Fly there as well. So the carries are not the ones struggling here in the early game. It's that jungle support combo that's struggling. Everyone else, Wolves, Oboronic, and Crimson, are actually winning their matchups. If Layers and Inbound can stay relatively close in terms of impact, then Hype Unit really aren't in that bad a spot.
Both supports kind of feeling themselves out a little bit. DineOhSaw was flirting with the idea of invading a red buff, but gonna have to give that one up, knowing that the rotation at Oboronic is there. Left side mid camps will be settled for instead, but a fight over the Oracles.
Layers blinks right into the ultimate. DineOhSaw on the target. Does find a Windfire Wheels, but he's gonna come right back down into Hype Unit territory for what should be an easy cleanup kill, but instead it's Inbound that dies.
I love that play, the knock-up from the ultimate. Gravity surge through into the red buff, into Spirit of the 9 Winds coming through from Fly. Fly was too far away to follow up initially, but not from that middle of the pack ability out of the Awilix.
Rival showing up in a big way here in the console finals, and especially after game 1 was such a one-sided affair for Hype Unit, and Rival struggled a bit up against Big Money in their match as well. It really looked like Hype Unit were poised to come in and clean house, but instead Rival had different ideas. Right now they're up 5-1 in the decider match.
And still up a decent amount of experience to follow that up. We're gonna need to see some more powerful plays out of Rapio to continue this kind of pressure, but if there's only deaths onto Inbound, I'm not too worried about it for a Hype Unit. As long as Layers can continue to farm quietly in a way to get maybe Stone Cutting Sword, maybe Masamune, whatever katana he wants to go for, he'll be online once that's complete.
This is, though, exactly what Zero's describing on the desk. A lot of the times, Inbound can have score lines like this on gods way more mobile and safer than this Hercules, and this time he's been punished thoroughly throughout this early game. He's got to be careful. I know he's the support, and if he dies a bunch, it's not too bad, but it matters who he's giving those kills to. You don't want to feed Rapio or Fly in this point.
I definitely agree with you, but it's only going to take one good play onto DineOhSaw. Intercepted one more Windfire Wheels.
He drops right back down. The grasp of death is waiting. DineOhSaw ends up falling to the damage from Crimson, and the rest of Rival cannot help. Not from their tower line, so finally a fight goes Hype Unit's way cleanly with a nice pick.
In that time, I think Rapio was too far away to get the gravity surge off. Both Rapio and Fly used those ultimates. Davey gonna have to use the beats and maybe even the airstrike.
He's still taking plenty of damage from Oboronic, and Inbound blinks over the wall. Driving strike. Airstrike, though, allows Davey to make it out of there.
I'm surprised Inbound didn't drop the excavate boulder immediately after the driving strike, knowing the beats was already used, but instead will force out that ultimate, guaranteeing more farm now from Oboronic. But like I was mentioning earlier, from the Windfire Wheels, that was a good kill onto Inbound around the red buff, but there in middle, I think Rapio was too far away when he used a gravity surge, so that's why when Fly did use Spirit of the Nine Winds, it looked like it was going into no man's land, but he actually was trying to anticipate where Inbound was about to land if he were to get hit by that Awilix shot.
And you can tell when they're playing with this combo, Fly is way back, Rapio is way back, and it's basically just DineOhSaw up there by himself, all based around this setup for the Awilix, that if that combo doesn't work, they're in an awful spot for the next fight. Basically, it leaves DineOhSaw on an island out there by himself if they can't connect that combo.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big deal, not having your support Nasha, because that ring bounce is so useful in these team fights between the penetration it provides, allowing Rapio to do things, Davey to do things, the slow as well that the ring bounce is going to create. Not only that, to stack up the Nasha passive, so once Nasha does take all that damage, you're going to get a bigger heal from your second ability.
Well, despite that explosive start, this game has basically all come out in the wash. It's only a 600 or so gold difference at this point, which basically, and the levels are relatively even as well. Basically, all that means is that, hey, we're tied here 10 minutes into game number 3, despite a great start from Rival punishing this early start. But outside of the numbers, are they tied in terms of the draft? I mean, yes, they might go into late game even, but are Erlang, Shen, and Hercules equal to this Awilix and the Najah that Rival have over there on their side?
It's hard to say because it's going to come down to the synergy between the frontliners and the backliners from their respective compositions.
Oboronic takes a good bit of poke, but so does Davey. Gives as good as he got on the left-hand side. DineOhSaw in the CC chain, but responds to the Windfire Wheels. Layers takes next to no damage, but gets pulled back in to the knock-up and flattened by Fly. It's 1-for-1.
And the same exact strategy that worked at the red buff was executed again, but this time it was onto Layers.
Davey in some trouble. Inbound does follow up with the boulder this time, but all alone. He doesn't represent much kill potential, but that's a favorable trade for Rival. Yeah, DineOhSaw dies, but they get the jungle involved.
The jungle for the support. Layers had no timing to get off that ultimate. Maybe if he used it right before the Windfire Wheels, he would have been able to survive. Crimson trying to juke out as long as possible, but will ultimately end up dying in his passive form. Nothing to really do here.
You know, Crimson can go look for whatever damage he can do, but it just won't amount probably to very much, and yes, he's sent back to the grave properly now this time. That's just great awareness there from competitors to have caught Crimson kind of by himself, and then inside the Jorm ultimate, there's no healing.
And now, without the ultimate, though, he bit off more than he could shoot. He's going to go down now. DineOhSaw, keep in mind, still doesn't have ultimate, so he has to back off, and with that death, Wolves is free to do whatever he wants on that side of the map. He pushes away if he gets the right side mid camps, and this is what Wolves does best, his ability to just out-farm.
And this is good news. Wolves' impact, we haven't even really talked about it just yet, but I don't see any phantoms at this point. It's really mostly just Fly that I think is in danger, the Najah if he doesn't have the Windfire Wheels too, but the big headline is that he can punish Fly when he starts rotating over.
Yeah, could definitely force out Predators using that World Serpent in a time that he's not used to, but now it's Hype Unit that's going to force out the first objective of the game.
No one's here. And the reason why I think him being on lockdown Fly is a big deal, the combo is a lot worse if Fly has to use a suboptimal ultimate because he's under pressure from Wolves to try and keep himself from dying inside that cage. If Wolves can take that one key piece of the combo out, then the whole Jenga tower might fall down.
That's a good point that you actually just made there, Finch, because now they're going to have to adapt to all these team fights. And if they don't have that secondary page in their book, then what can HypeUnit do to exploit that fact? There's going to be maybe a Phantom coming through from Rival to allow Wolves to go in, reposition themselves, and align themselves up for their own combo yet again, but they might not have that opportunity as clean as they would want.
Inbound is fighting Fly early on. That gets the beads out from him, sets up for a really nice potential Wolves cage later, where really his only option would be an ultimate to fight back. But I do want to make sure I also say I don't think not picking up the Phantom yet was an issue with Wolves in solo. They're probably right to wait.
I definitely agree. If Wolves is going to sit there in the solo lane, then there's no real threat of him yet. Oboronic now having to deal with the World Serpent Snake, trying to juke out as long as possible, but it's Predators coming back into the backline on Crimson because he's lower.
He finds the second knockup, traps him with the third, but Crimson makes it back out. It does cost him the Grasp of Death ultimate, and Predators now locked down, and Daze gets bounced around, and there's the cage. No way for the Snake to make it out, so HypeUnit find one kill, and Rival can't capitalize. They're pushed out.
And Wolves zoning for as long as he possibly can. Rival cannot cut the distance the same way Predators can with the World Serpent. I think Predators has to slow it down. He was feeling himself a little bit too much at the end of game number 2.
And he's got to be careful, just like you're saying. I mean, Predators has potential to turn team fights instantly in one way or the other for his team or for the other. And that time, I know he saw red a bit by trying to get Oboronic low, and then he saw Crimson and went for him, but he ends up out of position, and they drop that cage on him instantly.
You know, maybe if he used the first initial strike of the World Serpent onto Crimson, no, sorry, onto Oboronic instead of Crimson, then he would have found the kill, but instead, he kind of splits the difference, and then he missed that very important third hit.
Cold Fury low, HypeUnit securing despite DineOhSaw being there, but that was the Windfire Wheels. The combo is in effect, and they will pull Wolves, but Wolves is the Odin. He drops the cage, shrugs it off, and DineOhSaw falls for it. They get nothing in terms of the trade, and HypeUnit come out on top.
They get the kill, they get the objective. HypeUnit are making a comeback in game number 3 after losing number 2 in quite spectacular fashion, I would say, honestly. So good on them for these North Americans to keep their cool when everything is on the line.
Oboronic taking a ton of damage, and Davey feeling it. Dashes in, but has to fall back. Oboronic might be able to defend this tier 1 tower, but he can't afford to stick around very long. He's getting some help on the rotation here from Inbound, so they should be able to defend. One other thing, look at Layers' build in this Erlang Shen. This is all basic attack focused. I wonder if we're going to see that Executioner or Kin size we sometimes see from the Erlangs.
A lot of attack speed in his build as well. A little bit of anti-healing, trying to limit some of this nausea. That penetration from Executioner going to be important for Inbound and Wolves to do more damage. You apply 3 hits, which is very easy to do with this build, by the way. That Excavate, the Bird Bomb out of Wolves is going to be chunky.
And so this isn't like we sometimes see with the Erlang Shens, where the like Mink or Knockup and the Pin is a lot of kind of burst, unexpected damage. Instead, this is going to be way more about the follow-up off that taunt, or if you're rooted in place, he'll get in a few extra autos and stick close to you. I think this build from Layers can work, but he is also going to be maybe a bit squishier than you might expect. But he does have some health from the Toxic Blade. We'll see how it all comes out for him.
And some help in his kit as well, between the Turtle Knockup, giving him a health shield, as well as the healing from the 9 turns Blessing. It just has to be well-timed of when those abilities do come up to compensate for his lack of defenses and health in that build. When you go Glass Cannon like this, there's a reasoning for it. There's going to be a very tanky Hercules, a very tanky Odin as well, so you can kind of make up for that by going Glass Cannon.
And his physical damage is going to be critical, because again, it's 2 mages for their carries this time between Oboronic and Crimson. So Layers going a bit more damage focused is something he kind of has to do this game to make sure he's keeping Rival honest in their builds. The cage comes down for Wolves. This is all in the name of securing the tier 1, but Predators goes right to the back line, finds a 2-man knockup. Wolves falls first, but DineOhSaw falls in trade to make it 1-for-1. But if Crimson can make it out, this is a valuable fight.
Forcing the Aegis out of Crimson. He dodges the second hit as Layers could not escape the clutches out of Davey.
That makes it 2-for-1, but they did hit the tier 1 tower. This still favors Rival so far, especially if they can lock down Inbound, but they pull Rapio back in. What a turnaround play from Bobby.
Inbound is an absolute nightmare to deal with. If your name is Rapio, thought he can get the knock up on Inbound, but he does a quick 180, prevents it, goes back into his tower, and pulls the Awilix back into her own death.
That's huge, man, and that was Rapio's first death of the game, too. He'd been a real nightmare so far this time as Pyromancer being looked at by Team Rival. It's just inbound, half HP and no ultimate to try and defend. So this is a low percentage steal, and in fact, he just gives it up.
Yeah, there was no way he could steal it. I mean, there's like a less than 1% chance,
Really
but
small.
not really worth going it after that one. We've seen crazier things, obviously, in Worlds before, you know. Sylvanas Root out securing a Kraken, obviously, but at the end of the day, I think that was the correct choice, not sacrifice your own life, because if you lose the Hercules now at this point, you might lose a tower, you might even lose the Fire Giant, honestly. With the way Rival have been playing game number 2, they're not shy about forcing objectives.
Well, that little bit of extra aggression or information gathering from Inbound does allow Oboronic to strip away that red buff. So Hype Unit controls both reds, and I think when you're running a double mage comp, that's an even bigger deal than normal. It helps these mages out so much as we get later in the game.
And even cripples out the opposing enemy mage, Fly,
Exactly.
not having that damage in a world where he has a lot of power from the Book of Thoth Rush, synergizing very well with the Cuckoo passive, that 5% mana conversion on 1,000 mana. So we're looking at a lot of plays out of him. Davey should be able to get out of that one. Mid-air Jingwei, no problem, just agility away.
Fly doesn't have his pen yet. I wonder if there's a case for Divine Ruin instead of Magus. I know you like it with the Cuckoo, but if you can cut off all this healing, that's huge. It's Inbound. Hard to imagine he makes it out here, but the rest of the squad's there to back up. No combo from them, and instead it's Wolves that gets knocked up. But even still, Rapio holds onto the ultimate, but Predators cut down the size way in the back line. DineOhSaw still stuck by the grasp of death, and that makes 2 for Hype Unit. They're going to keep right on surging.
They're going to try to slow down Davey. He still has the airstrike to get out of that one, but he
the wrong
uses it
way?
in the wrong direction, and he
can't get back
can't
over the
go
wall.
back mid.
That means he's trapped, but Hype Unit, they don't take the bait. Instead, they come back towards the Fire Giant, where they're heavily favored. Wolves is battling it out with Davey even still, while the rest of his squad goes to the late game objective.
This is a very ambitious call out of Hype Unit. They're going to have to find a way to secure this one, even with Rapio on the backside. Oboronic keeping him at bay. Blinks in, looks for one last hit and gets it.
Gets it with the basic, and Fire Giant still being leashed this entire time. Davey, the only one close, he can't quite get into range. That means Hype Unit secure the FG, and the fight's going their way too. And remember how this game started, totally. This was all Rival back at the beginning, but Hype Unit clawed right back in.
This is the North American Xbox team we expected to show up at the console wars. The
game.
favorites, honestly, but a lot of credit to Rival because they didn't let that Fire Giant go easily.
Yeah.
Rapio made Oboronic work for him. Oboronic came to answer the task. He got off the Fire Giant, he made the critical play, and he was accurate with the last basic attack before Rapio was able to blink away.
4-0-6 and by far top in the player damage. Oboronic having that kind of game here right now. His Oni Fury low being contested. Hype Unit grabbing the grasp of death is right in the middle of everybody. Predators in trouble. Wolves looking for the big dunk but can't quite find that, so that means Rival are on the full-on retreat. Hype Unit in control, up 5K.
Inbound is the hero that Hype Unit needed this game. With that pull, with the Excavate as well, he's been all over the map, honestly, as he normally tends to be, no matter what support he plays. And this looks like a totally different game for not only Inbound between game 2 and 3, but Oboronic as well from the Olorun into this Merlin.
5-0-6 for Oboronic on this Merlin, man. He's having that kind of day. And if you're on Team Rival, all you can do, I feel like, is just get out of the way. DineOhSaw and the rest of the squad are here, but Davey's already in trouble. Layers can't find the taunt, though. That means he's out. The rest of the squad gonna try and chip down this Phoenix. Meanwhile, Wolves keeps 5 members zoned away, basically by himself.
He's still gonna get knocked up from that persistent Gus, and now it's Predators that couldn't escape with his own ultimate.
Inbound goes in for the pull, can't find that, but the grasp of death comes in from off screen from Crimson. They're gonna lock down DineOhSaw as well with the slows. Hype Unit up 5-3 in terms of members that are alive, but they still got tier 2 towers to worry about. You can't do the mid Phoenix yet here, fellas.
No.
Back it up.
They're gonna have to back it up there,
good
but they get
knock-up.
knocked up. Wolves still gets out by the skin of his teeth.
But Inbound keeps Davey from following up with the driving strike. That means the squad can head back to the tier 2 and grab it here. Hype Unit right on the precipice, but you can tell Rival not willing to let go.
A little bit of a disrespectful pathing
Yes.
to go between that Phoenix into that tier 2
Greedy.
tower, but they still come out on top at the end of the day. They don't lose anyone, but it could have been faster, honestly. If they just took 5 extra seconds to go underneath, they wouldn't have to waste an extra 10 seconds with
Right.
dealing with the shenanigans at Rival.
There are no shortcuts, man. We say it all the time, and Hype didn't get punished that time, at least in terms of what they could have gotten overall. Obviously, they're still very much in control here, up 9,000 over Team Rival, and the team favored to grab this win. And this is what makes Hype Units so scary to the other placed weak teams. I mean, that was a slugfest in game number 2, where they really were never in control. And then even the start of this game, Layers and Inbound got worked, and they still managed to fight their way back in.
I was never really worried about Layers or Inbound dying that early until the second time that they died. Once that second death happened, I'm like, all right, that is not how Hype Unit needs to play this time around. But two different things happen now from Rival to be able to maybe claw their way back into this game. I'm seeing the Phantom out of Dinosaur now to be able to escape Wolves' cages, and then the Obsidian Shard from Fly, the penetration now in the Cuckoo is a good way to stop the front line from getting in there from Hype Unit.
I was saying earlier, I think the Divine Ruin might have done a lot of work for them against this composition. They don't really have much by way of anti-heal for this Hercules, for this Erlang Shen. I mean, even Persephone can heal herself off her plants as well. Does Divine... Oh, well, we don't even have a chance to talk, as Davey has already been shredded. He does get the airstrike off in time, and Wolves predicts wrong on the blink, but that's okay. He can try and lock down DineOhSaw. Inbound gets the kill onto the Hunter. And
Dinosaur has to use the Phantom on only himself now. Middle Phoenix in jeopardy with that wave there. Frenzy even being popped. Hype Unit with their second Firebird of the game.
They were willing to commit a lot there for that kill, but they couldn't quite find it. Grasp of Death on cooldown for Crimson now as well, as the whole squad moves over to right. So much for Rival comes down to this last Phoenix, and if they can defend it here, they move into DineOhSaw quickly and bring down half HP, but Predators is plenty disruptive, makes into the ultimate as well.
But he's gonna have to disengage because he already took about 80% of his health pool just like that. Davey still dead for 15 seconds. Round 2 for Hype Unit.
And this should be the right side Phoenix too. I don't think Rival have time to make it back in. Without minions, it's much, much slower here with the backdoor protections available, but now they should be able to burn it. Rival have now lost all 3 Phoenixes. This is a death sentence for Hype Unit in game 2. Is it for Rival again in game 3?
The best possible thing you could do with your Fire Giant. Get all the birds and maybe even more with Wolves' cage.
They're trying to lock down Predators. Davey goes right to the back line, but he gets controlled and popped as well. DineOhSaw now has to find a way to disengage. It's a good ring bounce. Grasp of Death goes all the way to the back line and finds RvLRapio, forcing out feeds from everybody in Hype Unit, ready to keep up the surge.
Predator is going to get stunned out. He's going to get eliminated. Dinosaur gets taunted. He gets taken out. It's only Rapio and Fly up.
Oboronic, though, does get fall. Doesn't end up falling. Rapio finds his way in. Big ultimate for Fly as well. But Inbound finds the driving strike. That's Fly and DineOhSaw left to keep this one standing. There's fire minions coming in from every conceivable angle at this point in Hype Unit. They want it all. Console wars on the line as they make their way in.
The North American Xbox team are in the throne room, barreling down the European store. They're gonna go for the yen in this best of 3 set.
They're doing everything they can. Titan now below half HP, now down below a quarter. Hype Unit stick to it, and they take it. Console wars champions for Hype Unit.
Congratulations to Hype Unit now. Gonna face off against Out Cold Gaming Rival.
Congrats, by the way. Yeah, you want to face up here? Let's give some names for that team that's over there, right? Dimmy is on that team and waiting for you. Pretty Prime, say hello, as that is the reward. But they come out on top here in the console wars, and it's what I think you would have expected. Hype Unit were the best console team, I think, all year long, but Rival made them work for every bit of it.
And shout out to Hype Unit in both games, honestly. It's not just the SMITE console wars that they won as well, but Paladin's Hype team as well. So you got to be really hype if you're a fan of Hype Unit.
Don't worry, those guys will certainly let you know. If you didn't know that that's who won it, they'll let you know here in just a minute. But absolutely congratulations to the organization as a whole for all this success, because they've got a minor league team on the other side of the bracket.
True.
So Rival's going to go from Hype Unit console to Hype Unit minor league and try and get a win there, I suppose.
It would have been fun to see like that mirror matchup of console versus the minor league, but that'll be up to Rival to see if they can go past the minor league team.
That's right. Is Hype Unit going to be the blockade for them in both formats? Certainly could be the case. But man, Hype Unit turned it on when it mattered most. Everyone on that team really stepped up in this game. In particular, Oboronic for me on that one, along with Inbound. They played so well in this last game.
A lot of mind games, but ultimately, I think that Hype Unit were the more talented team, and they came out on top.
Yeah, congratulations here to Hype Unit. Well deserved for them, but the job not done. They have more waiting for them in the rest of the week. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with plenty more to talk about.
welcome back to the analyst desk. The SMITE console wars has concluded, and your victors are indeed going to be Hype Unit from North America. Zeros has been joining me on the desk for the whole day to break down what we saw, and that last game, overall, I mean, Rival got off to a really good start with the Awilix. The invade from Hype Unit didn't work out. But then as the game went on, it all turned in Hype Unit's favor. Yeah,
it's weird. After seeing Rival being up 4-0 with the comp they had, so much setup for this Kukulkan.
Yeah.
I thought they would just like run. I thought this Herc would like hard int this whole game, but that was not the case.
No.
And again, we see Predators playing this Jorm, and like honestly, I don't know what he's doing sometimes when he's ulting. Like his decision making for going in and just like dying, you know, like
yeah. Whether it's a stay in, stay out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, this fight was a back and forth encounter for a while. As you can see by the scoreline here, this is at the Gold Fury area, where Rival was still in the lead, and they were still finding a couple of kills, answering back some of Hype Unit. But Hype Unit eventually got themselves back into it. I will say, Inbowned on the Hercules, we mentioned he struggled on Geb in Game 2. Well, this game, he kind of stepped up exactly what you expect out of a support player playing aggressive.
Yeah, like not doing great in the early game at all, but then once he got past that stage of the game, he did really well. That's a pretty sick combo that Rival were running this game as well.
Yeah.
They would Nasha ult, and then there's a small knockup when you land from Nasha ult, and Awilix pulled them after, so it's like they had to invest 3 ults though to kill one target, because they Kukulkan out as well after that, which I think probably you can just put the tornado down and Kukulkan out off the Nasha ult. I feel like it's a more simple way of doing things and maybe saving the Awilix ult for some other stuff, but it looked cool at least.
And as you can see on the tail end here, Fire Giant was around Hype Unit's waist. They got aggressive and continued to look for picks, take out Davey at the tail end here, and that ended up giving him the victory overall. It was a good performance from Hype Unit on the day. It wasn't as clean as a lot of people expected though. A lot of people came into today singing Hype Unit's praises, saying they had a shot against some of the PC teams tomorrow and the rest of the tournament. They've got a bit of work to do that, I feel like.
Yeah, but tomorrow as well they'll be playing on PCs, I think, right? With
yeah,
keyboards
they have
and
the
mouse,
option to do that,
which might make them better as well, like mechanically and that kind of stuff. I don't really know how it works with console players, but yeah, like, we'll see.
Well, let's get it over to the field to see how Hype Unit feel after their victory. Layers and oBoronic are standing by for an interview.
Indeed have Layers and oBoronic here. First things first, guys. I know there's a lot to look forward to with placement weeks and all that stuff that's coming up for you, but I mean, congratulations on being the Console Wars champions here. That's technically twice in a row now as well, since you all won towards the end of Season 5. How does that feel, just definitively now in a row, just being the best console team out there?
It feels amazing, honestly. I don't think any other team has two-peated or like done back-to-back. I mean, we're missing like Griff and Chapo, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think we're just, you can plug in, play, and we're just like overall a solid team, I think. So. Yeah.
Off of this win, I got to go dig deep into the set, though. Between games number 2 and number 3, how were you able to bounce back mentally? What adjustments did you make?
I think it was mostly like drafts and starts. I mean, once we were like disappointed in ourselves, like in how we started and drafted. So once we like figured out like, you know, that, then game 3 was like easy.
Well, it really felt to me like you all got back to like comfort and basics in game number 3. The Erlang Shen, right? The Odin, and then you're on the Merlin and looking really good on that. Is that kind of helped out too? Kind of going back to just like what you all know? Is that sort of the mentality?
Just go back to the roots. That's what we've played all the time before. So it's just really comfort, and it's like especially like in a long set like that, like it really like impacts like your like mental like state. Like I have like a massive headache right now, so I just wanted to play something that I like knew like muscle memory wise. So I knew how to play Erlang like the back of my hand, you know? So, yeah.
Speaking of being more comfortable, though, when you ran the Erlang and the Hercules, it didn't look too good right off the bat. What were the comms like after you guys took an early spill in the first minute and then in minute number 3 as well?
When we took the early spill, I mean, it's not like obviously giving up 2 kills is like terrible, but I feel like they got like the whole left side. We got their red, like our mid, like I think our mid laner was 5. Yeah, our mid laner was 5.
Yeah, your carries were ahead.
Yeah. But I think that's how you play how to play the game, because mages are like OP, especially Persephone and Merlin, so they're really good.
All right, well, now we can take a little bit of a look forward. You all will be matching up against Out Cold, the European minor league 2nd seed team. What are your thoughts about that squad? Where are you potentially looking to try and exploit, and how you think that set's going to go?
They got, you know, respectable players, so we're going to do our homework tonight in VODs. And, yeah, we're more comfortable on PC, so that's what we've been scrimming on.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations here on this win, but I know you all have aspirations even beyond just winning here at the Console Wars. So congrats on that. Look forward to seeing you all here a couple more times, as you'll get it back over to Hindu and Zeros.
Thank you.
There you have it. Thanks a lot there, Finch. And of course, Hype Unit. They move on tomorrow to face off against, well, would you believe it? They're going to be facing off against Out Cold there. I had to double check. I saw Hype Unit. So, Out Cold versus Hype SEL is what we're going to see tomorrow. And as well, we'll get to see Rival take on Hype down in the other bracket. So it's Hype versus Hype tomorrow. And the victors go on to face off against SK and LG in the regular bracket. Zeros, I think that's one of the reasons we saw that Hype Unit team not be too excited just yet, because it's only one day down, and to go to the World Championships now and represent everybody there, they've got to go through the rest of the week, which is going to be 5 days long. Yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see how good of a fight they can put up against the PC teams, or even best them. Like, if they do, it's gonna they're gonna be heavy underdogs going into it. But like, if they can come up with some wins, that's gonna be big. Do you reckon we have any team tomorrow that could have a bit of an insight into, from your point of view, of who could win? I feel like for me it's impossible to say, because like he said himself in an interview that they've been screaming on PC against PC teams, so I don't know how they've been doing there, if they look good or not. So like for me, I have no idea. Tomorrow we get the placements. You all get to tune in then. The placements will officially begin. We'll have double elimination throughout the competition. Find out who the best 2 teams are by Friday. From everyone here though at Hi-Rez, that's all we got for today. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, same time, 11 AM. See you then. Tell them talk to Colin for the quote. On record, off record, I still want the act, not the ghost.